Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, my name is Dave Scott. I am back from San Francisco, and what a night to be back with Varla Ventura in our Crypted world. And Varla's hair looks like it's been teased and ready for tonight's episode to talk monsters all night long. Shapeshifters tonight. Dirty Filth is here with the cartoons and all of you as well. Sugar Britches taking home the gold medal tonight. Chris 716 with the silver. Pam Harris with a nice bronze medal tonight. Susie 2020, how you doing? Good to see you. JSCO, nice to see you. JSCO will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on, Crystal J, how are you? Robert Lamoth, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Mac Geek, Nightmare, Brown Dwarf, new logo. I like it. I like it a lot. Jenny, how you doing, my dear? Donna, nice to see you as we continue on with roll call. There's Susie B and Les Paul Holland. Rui from Portugal, nice to have you here. Raymond L from Colorado. Derek Galloway, good to see you guys here. Hi, Kim Stanley. And Kurt M, good to have you here. Jessica S and Rugged Source, nice to have you. I'm telling you, it feels good to be back. It really does. All right, there's Nikki in Seattle. And D. Cohen, my man, how you doing? And Stu Gerson, good to have you all here. Zach, nice to see you as we continue on with roll call here. Grandmaster, Millennium, my man. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Emmy Tong, nice to have you back. Laura Lobbs, thank you for coming on in. And YJ Overlander, my man, Crypted 559er. I tell you, the hats are a hit around here. Now, I'm not wearing mine tonight because I got Varla on and I got her logo here, okay? But I will wear it, my man. I tell you, Javier and Jesus are great dudes. I'm going to get them on the show very, very soon because I want to talk to these guys. They've been like face-to-face with Dogman. Yeah, serious stuff. Great guys. I'm so excited about it. And Ozzy, oi to you. Hi, W. David Page, and thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Paramarv, good to have you here. And there's Monica, and who else do we have here? Dirt Road, nice to see you. Number 31 in your program from Stockholm, Sweden, starting in goal, Lars Jansson. Timothman, good to see you. Pat Toohey, thanks for coming on in. Obi Flett, my man. Nancy Thames, good to see you all here. Hey, Gnome Squatch, how you doing, buddy? As we continue on with roll call. Area 51, nice to have you back, buddy. And here we go. There's Pixie Lara. Sparkles on Facebook, nice to see you. Hi, Matthew Gutka, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with roll call. Daryl Zerling, nice to have you here. Tim Felon, good to see you, my man. And who else do we have? Michael Godbold, good to see you. And there's TMI. And who else do we have here? Eli McInnes, nice to see you. Sibylla Irwin, thank you for joining us. We're going to start up the Spreaker chat so that way we can see Bill WD40 pop on in here and lube us up for tonight's show. Lord knows we need a good lubing for a nice smooth run tonight. Lubing. Yeah, Gizmo, nice to see you. Pandora's Box, welcome to SOR chat. And let's see, who else do we have here? Anil Kad, thank you for coming on in. And who else is here? Sensational Sherry and scrolling on down. Candy Wolf, nice to see you. And Robo, nice to have you back. Eternity Eternal, thanks for coming on in. Redneck, good to see you. And Love V Love, there's Dirty Filth. All right, we got about 30 seconds. There's Bill WD-40. He's in there. He's lubing up every corner of tonight's show, making sure we're going in smooth. Yes, indeed. Because Vegas is not going to be smooth. No, it's not. Hey, there's Katie Page. How are you, beautiful? I'm going to give you a wave right there. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I promise. Super chat is open. Rex Goodrum, good to see you. And, of course, you can do your shopping at spacedoutradio.com. So check it on out. Right now, I need a favor from all of you. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor and hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of woo tonight. Varla Ventura is back. Yes, the Queen of the Darkness joins us for our Crypted World. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Then right after that, Robin McRae will be filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Yes, I always get excited at this time of the month because Varla Ventura is literally one of my favorite people in this field. I love calling her the Queen of the Darkness or Queen of the Cryptids, something queenish, because she deserves it for everything she does to make our show look good on a monthly basis. Varla is a very accomplished author when it comes to all things spooky and scary. Her books can be found at varlaventura.net or any major bookstore across North America. And tonight, we're going to get into the topic of shapeshifters and whatever else comes up, because I think this is a topic that really doesn't get enough play. And Varla is a type of person that we want to go to when it comes to everything spooky. Varla Ventura, always a good time to have you here. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I know. Hard to believe we are less than 2 months away from Las Vegas for our Vegas event. I know. I'm getting pumped up. I'm not going to lie. I am getting pumped up.
Yeah. Amazing. It's going to be a blast.
I know. You're going to be there.
That's an understatement. That's a mild. That's like downplaying it. It's going to be a blast.
You are totally downplaying it right now.
Yeah,
totally.
I'm downplaying it because what I really want to say is you'll get. You'd have to mute me.
Yes.
Let's go.
I got back from the UFO Con 2023 in San Francisco, and I got to meet some of our listeners, and I love it. I got to meet Javier and Jesus from Crypted 559 out of California.
Awesome.
Great guys. We went for lunch one day, and I also got to meet a couple of other people, including from our chat room, who's been here for years, Kim Jellin, who was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Mr. Anthony, I'm going to call him Mr. Anthony because after what he did for me out of the blue, it was absolutely amazing. And I got it upstairs, but I have to go get it. And I promise you, I'll show you if you're watching on our YouTube channel tonight. but he painted a picture of me broadcasting the show with a Bigfoot and an alien. It was incredible.
Cool.
So, Mr. Anthony, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. So much. It was cool. Very, very cool. The speakers were great. We're going to have a bunch of them coming on the show soon. Varla, can I get you to pause for a minute here? Because I got to talk to our man, Dirty Filth. Now, people on the radio side don't really know that we have a cartoonist that draws cartoons during our show, and we call him Dirty Filth around here. And Dirty Filth, I want you to turn your microphone on, because usually you're silent but deadly. Okay? But I want you to say hello to our radio audience, Dirty.
Hello, radio audience.
Now, Dirty, I have a real bone to pick with you here, because when I got home from San Francisco, there was a package on my counter waiting for me. And it was this wonderful book called Crypted Cartoons that I bought off of Amazon. And my friend, the bone I have to pick with you on this was looking through it. I absolutely had tears in my eyes, because you have literally described the entire Spaced Out Radio story and history through your amazing cartoons. And I got really, really emotional reading this, and I felt so thankful for you, the incredible job that you have done in part one of this book, and your amazing talent in telling the story of Spaced Out Radio, and you go and put it in this perfect book. I was looking through it with my son, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, you are all over this, man." And it literally brought tears to my eyes of gratefulness and thankfulness that you and your amazing talent have put this book together. I've seen so many of your cartoons over the years, and I have, I don't want to say I take it for granted, but I get to see them and I get to see you make them, and it's just amazing. But to see you put years of Spaced Out Radio collages all together in this great book, Crypted Cartoons, which can be found on Amazon. Okay, my man, thank you for everything that you do to make Spaced Out Radio one of the top radio shows in our genre. And it's because of you that you play a major part in what we do. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart in allowing me to be a part of this book, man. This is absolutely incredible.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. However, if you cried on the pages and they're wet, I will not be able to issue a refund.
No, that's absolutely fine. But my man, it's absolutely, I know I caught you off guard with this. I know I did. But literally, if you are a fan of Spaced Out Radio and you want to see some incredible art, go on to Amazon, get volume 1 of Crypted Cartoons, a collection of drawings for those of us that wear tinfoil hats, by Klaus Meidner, okay, and his great cat Blob. And Filth, you outdid yourself, man. I am so proud of you for this book and allowing us to be an inspiration, this show to be an inspiration to you. And it's just, in my opinion, it's one of the most perfect things that's ever happened to Spaced Out Radio is our relationship with you.
I appreciate that, Dave. And I'd like to thank you as well for that nice forward you gave me in the book.
Oh, yeah. I know
That's
you're a man
something
of few words, and I know you're hating every moment of me talking to you like this right now. But my man, you deserve every piece of accolades that you get for that book, man, and it is well worth it.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. You stole me a slice of pizza, buddy.
Yeah, I'll get you a slice of pizza. All right, now Filth is gonna go back to his hood down and go draw some cartoons. He's not liking me right now, Varla. He hates that type of stuff, but I had to do it. Had to do it, Varla.
He deserved it.
He does. He does. And Varla, every time we bring you on, our audience is changing. They're always growing. They're probably wondering, who is this Varla Ventura lady, the queen of the darkness, the queen of the cryptids? Yet this is something that is so passionate to you. Give a brief description of why you love this subject so much.
Oh, it's just I've loved the villain and the story and dark fairy tales and ghosts and things that go bump in the night since I was a child, really. I'm quite young. I had quite a few paranormal experiences as a young child, and that really probably set me up for kind of just loving the darker side of things. That and being raised by a witch in the woods were kind of the precursors to me becoming a collector of the strange and writer of the oddities of the world.
And you're one of the best at what you do here. And tonight we're going to get into something that, we've touched on it before, and you and I have touched on thousands of topics. I should say thousands, probably hundreds of topics over the years that you have been doing this show. And for our audience, this is one of the only shows that Varla does on a consistent basis, if not
It's
the
the
only
only show that I do on a consistent basis.
Yes,
I get
because
invited to other shows, but this is the only one that I book on. It's just
that's
so much
because
fun.
you
It's
love
because
us.
of you.
Just
Yeah.
you love
It's because of you, Dave. It's also because of the interaction with the audience and how fun and weird and kind everyone is. And you also moderate your chat very nicely, so that's always important to make everyone feel like they're in a safe space for spaced out weirdos like us.
Very true. Very true. We are of safe space. Just want to give a shout out to my buddy Cable Guy Matt in the chat room. Remember, people, you could get your free piece of autographed coaxial cable. You Cable Guy Matt. You cannot buy these in stores. Limit one per household. Yeah, we just have fun. People are going to be like, what the hell do I need a piece of coaxial cable for? Because it's from Cable Guy Matt. That's why. That is why.
Yeah,
right there.
that's good enough reason.
Absolutely. That's all you need. Varla, let's get into shapeshifters here, because we haven't really talked about this subject. And yet it is one of the weirdest, strangest topics that I know of. And how I got on this point was last week, we had my main man Merle on from the Paranormal Road Trippers,
Love
who just
Merle.
got back. Yeah, he just got back from Spokane, Washington on a ghost hunt there. And they actually filmed a shapeshifter, potentially
Ooh.
a Wendigo or a skinwalker, on an Indian reserve in their area.
Wow.
And they are tripping out. Now, I haven't seen the footage yet. Merle is getting it all cut up and cleaned up to make sure. But they said this thing looked like a horse, but was walking like it was something different. And when they checked the footprints looked like cloven hooves with something else attached to them. It was very, very strange. And one of the ladies who is First Nations, who was with them, she actually had seen something similar to this before, about a year previous. So this shape-shifting thing, I haven't been able to get it out of my mind. What do you know about shapeshifters?
Well, the very first thing that came to mind when you mentioned the horse was I just got back from Ireland, and the Irish Pooka is a big is big. I mean, that's one of the main kind of trickster fairies in Irish mythology and folklore, and it is frequently seen as a horse, with red glowing eyes, and kind of rears up on its hind legs, and it takes off across the moors at night, but then it really kind of seems like a docile being. So one thing I'll say over in an overarching way about shapeshifters is that I think we probably kind of are there's like two main default shapeshifters that everyone thinks of: werewolves and vampires. Those are kind of like the two, like, granddaddy of the of the shapeshifters. Um, and we also frequently think of shapeshifters as animals, which they are also frequently seen, shifting form from one animal to another or from human to animal. But what we may not realize is that real shapeshifters can actually turn into other things, usually organic elements, such as rocks or stones. Anyone who's ever gone walking along a path late at night, hurrying home, you didn't mean to stay so late, has seen something out of the corner of their eyes that, like, what was that? I thought that was just a stone up there. And it seems to move, and you just tell yourself, oh, my eyes are playing tricks on me. Oh, it's the darkness. Oh, I'm nervous, all of these things. But there's a ton of stories about these kind of shape-shifting creatures that can, probably what's the most terrifying about them is that they can transform from not just a, seemingly harmless animal, but they can actually transform into anything. I'm not talking about like a chair or a table, although I suppose that would be possible, but usually an organic element, such as a stone or gold or iron or something kind of along those lines.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I mean, the fact that I didn't know it could be a rock. I didn't know they could change into something solid like that. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay? I'm having like
You're
stupid
sounding fine.
headphone problems. Okay, great.
You're sounding
Well,
fine.
there's one story in particular that that involves transforming. There's more than one story, but there's one story in particular that kind of stood out to me about, like, as far as like transforming from a human to or a humanoid-like creature or a fairy-like creature that appears to have what we would associate with like human-like features, right? Like a head and two arms and 2 feet and all of those kind of things that we sort of think of. This is an English fairy shapeshifter, and it's called the Headley Cow. And the Headley Cow, the story behind the Headley Cow is that the Headley Cow can actually transform into a number of things. But the main story that's told about this Headley Cow is that there's a little old lady, and she's walking down the lane. As so many good scary folk tales begin, you're alone on a lane, and you're somewhat feeble, so you can't run very fast. That's kind of the setup. But there's a little old lady. She's poor, and she's walking down the lane, and she notices like a kind of a broken pot alongside the road, and it's a bit like a iron cauldron or something, but it looks heavy. And it looks like it's cracked and it's been discarded, but she wants to take it anyway because she thinks, oh, well, I could plant a flower in it or something like that. I could use it as in my garden. So she picks it up and she starts to bring it down the lane. And she notices as she sort of wraps it up in her shawl and she's dragging it behind her. And she notices that it's got something shaking inside of it, something tinkling. And so she looks in there and it's full of gold. And she thinks, well, what fortune have I that I picked up this cracked pot and it's turned into gold. This is amazing. And so she keeps dragging it and she drags it a little further and she kind of checks it, looks back, and now actually it's turned to silver. Oh, no matter. Silver's just as good as gold. I just thought it was a cracked pot, she says, and she continues on down the lane, dragging this heavy pot. And she gets a little further down the lane. And she's getting close to home now, and she looks again, and it seems even heavier than it was before. Now it's iron. And she thinks, well, whatever, iron's easy to sell. People like iron. Iron's fine. I just thought it was a cracked pot. This is great. She gets it home. And once she gets it home, she kind of dumps it out and it's rocks. And she thinks, well, that's okay. It's rocks. I've got this cracked pot. I mean, I just thought it was a cracked pot to begin with. And then before her eyes, the rocks turn into the Hedley cow, which is this little kind of fairy-like creature. And it starts laughing at her and laughing that it didn't know that it was the Hedley cow shape-shifting that whole time, and what a fool she was. And it goes cackling off and dashes back off into the onto the lane and into the woods. And the lady just says, oh, well, I guess I'm pretty lucky because I saw the Hedley cow and it didn't hurt me. So I think the real moral of that story is perpetual optimism. Well, it's been told to me in a number of ways, and every time it kind of sounds like making the best of a situation there. But that is a really kind of key, iconic fairy tale and that exists in the overarching like lexicon of fairy lore about a creature that can shapeshift into an organic matter, rocks, gold, silver, and fool the person, and that's a way for people to kind of like carry it from one place to another. Shapeshifters are tricksters, so that is kind of what the ultimate trickery. Oh, you think you have gold, and you actually just have a rock.
Okay, so the idea behind the whole shape-shifting aspect, I had always thought about it, Varla, as this is something that is human or inhumane, if I could use that. Like when it comes to skinwalkers, where you have a rogue healing shaman who's decided to go dark because he or she wants eternal life and have bought into the dark side, almost like Star Wars with Darth Vader, and,
or me.
or you, for instance. Sure. I mean, and so the idea behind it is I always thought it was something to do with that, something to do with the devil, the evil side of everything, rather than maybe just some sprites playing around and deciding to become silver and gold.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Shapeshifter is a huge umbrella term to describe the supernatural phenomenon of a non-human being either appearing as a human and transforming into a monster or an animal, or another kind of non-human being transforming into basically being able to completely change your appearance. And that's why we kind of like, vampires are the like OG shapeshifters, right? Because they sort of appear as, I have a scary vampire story that I learned in Ireland, by the way, as a side note.
We gotta get
fun one. Yeah. But the kind of, and I think we definitely get stuck on, and I know I get stuck a lot on werewolves as shapeshifters, because they really do kind of encompass what the idea of transforming from either man to beast, or transforming from one creature to another, and as such being defined as a supernatural creature. But sometimes we get, I mean, there's certainly a lot of devilish trickery out there.
Well, let's continue with the devilish trickery.
Great.
That's a good place to start. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. VarlaVentura.net is her website. We'll continue with Shapeshifters when we return on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Russell Gill, how you doing, man? I apologize for the selfie. My cousins in Las Vegas are watching the hockey game and watching SOR right now. So they're like, we can't wait to party with the SOR people in Vegas. And I'm like, yeah, man, My cousin
Are
looks
there
like,
any?
yeah.
Are the Knights playing when we're there? It's May.
No, the Knights are playing right now. They're playing the Canucks right now. So they're sitting at a bar. So I took a nice selfie, and boy, I sure can tell I came back from America because I've gained weight. Oh my God. And anyways, moving on. But my cousin looks like Bob Vila, so I always bug him.
Oh,
Hey,
rad.
Bob Vila, what are you building today?
Hey,
And my
Bob.
cousin Lisa, she's just one of the most amazing people in the world. I love them, and they are actually the reason why I want to move this show down to Vegas, just so I can be close to
Oh,
them.
yeah. Great.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting. If you look here, I'm actually getting middle fingers from my cousin right there. Where is it? Right there?
Oh, yeah. Because
Isn't that
you're.
nice? Hey, Bob Vila, build me a freaking house down there. Make sure you use nails, Bob Vila, and not your homemade wooden ones.
Not the
That's
square
right.
ones.
Yeah, this isn't Amish country. Yes, I will. Yeah, Mike.
So they're coming? Are they coming to the party
Well,
then?
they live in
SOR
Las Vegas.
experience?
They live in Las Vegas, and they have been bugging me to move down there for about 20 years. And my cousin and I, it's funny, we don't talk every day, but when we do talk, it's like it was just yesterday,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm closer to him than anybody in my family.
Cousins, one of my cousins actually said this once. They said cousins are they're like instant best friends. Because it's not
Yeah.
like a sibling where you have all this stuff going on with. It's like you're related, there's a safety there, and you understand each other, and you have some fundamental similarities, but you also have to work at it a little bit more. And it's particularly, I mean, like some of my I have, tons of cousins, but I have some standout. One of my cousins might be listening. One of my cousins is like a super Bigfoot guy, has seen Bigfoot numerous times, and his son has seen Bigfoot numerous times. They hunt and go fishing a lot in like rural Oregon, where they have some like undeveloped property, and they also live in a rural part of Northern California. And every summer when I go back there and I see him, I say, I've got to just interview you at some point, just because I've heard the stories, but not like sit down and tell me. But yeah, cousins for the win.
Oh yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, my cousin, because they haven't been back to Canada in a long time, and they were like, we're thinking of moving back, and I'm like, don't, you'll regret every moment of it. And I said, just remember, you come back, you are the honeymoon for all your friends and family for about the first 3 weeks, and because they've grown to live without you, the phone stops ringing right after that. So I said, don't.
They've grown to live without you. God, that's probably my probably the story of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I got all my buddies, and maybe I don't know if this is abnormal or not, but all my buddies down on the coast, they're like 4 hours away. A couple of them I haven't even heard from in years, all because I moved north. Out of picture, out of mind, right? So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I moved like 2,000 miles away from, most of the people that I love, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with them.
Well, I'm not.
I don't know.
I'm not saying
I
I'm not
think
okay.
they miss me, and I miss them. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's say hi to Wild Jimbo. How you doing, Gloria? Nice to see you, and thanks for coming on in. Varla is in Minnesota, where she's allowed her son to become a goaltender, and thank you.
Two champions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you to W. David Page and Deb for the super chats tonight, and absolutely love it. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hey, everybody who's waiting to get emails from us, we are having an email server issue. I've been on the phone with GoDaddy right before the show. It's going to take a little bit for us to get it fixed. So if you haven't heard from us, we will get to you ASAP. Okay. And I will figure out a way how. Here comes the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Hey, a quick shout out to all our listeners out there who are waiting for emails from us for the Las Vegas fan party, May 19th through 21st at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've just found out from our email serving host GoDaddy that they are having some connection issues with our domain. So we are trying to get that figured out here ASAP. Please be patient with us. We have been sending out emails, and hopefully they've been getting it out to you. But we are working on it right now. So, or if you've sent emails to us and we haven't responded, that might be the reason why. But yes, Vegas is still a go. And if you have VIP tickets that you're waiting for confirmation, then we will get back to you ASAP. This is a priority here for us. And we're probably, because of this technical issue, going to expand the VIP dates until April 15th. April 15th, everyone. Okay, Varla Ventura is our guest tonight. She will be part of our special guest in Las Vegas for the fan party. But tonight, we're more talking cryptids here. And before we get into shapeshifters, you said you had a wicked story coming out of Scotland or Ireland?
Oh, no, Ireland. So I just got back from Ireland a couple weeks ago, and me being me, I'm always looking for the creepiest possible story around. And I'd heard some other kind of creepy vampire stories, but this one was told to me, and then I went and kind of like read up on it in a book I had at home once I got home. But I also I had two experiences. One where I saw something in this like tavern that's been a tavern since 1200, and it belonged to a woman. This isn't vampire related, but it's still cool. It actually has to do. It actually is shape-shifting. Now that I think about it, under the umbrella topic. So there's an inn in this town. Some people have probably heard of this or possibly even been there. But it's in the town of Kilkenny in Ireland, and it's this inn called Kittler's Inn. And there was a woman named Dame Alice Kittler, and she married multiple times. She actually had 4 husbands. And amassed quite a bit of wealth as a result. When her 4th husband died under quote unquote mysterious circumstances, one plaque says they were poisoned. Another person says there's really no evidence. And we all know that women of wealth in the medieval times were frequently accused of witchcraft. And so was Dame Alice. So she was accused of witchcraft and was going to be sentenced to be burned alive, which is quite cruel. I've been actually reading up on some of the ways that witches were killed, and not, they weren't all, the humane thing was actually to like knock them out before they were burned alive, or like, you drown them in a bucket of water and then burn them after that, which is what they did a lot in Scotland. But in Ireland, so this was actually the first time that someone had been officially accused of witchcraft and heresy. So Dame Alice, who again had amassed this great amount of wealth, Some say she shapeshifted in the night into a black cat and stole away and was never seen again. Others say that she had friends in high places, including the Medicis in Italy, who were known alchemists and magical practitioners. And nonetheless, she was never seen or heard from again. Unfortunately, her maidservant, who was thought to have been involved in the entire scheme of poisoning the multiple husbands, was sentenced to basically she had to like carry out her sentence. And so she was flogged, and then ultimately she was burned at the stake. She was burned alive in, I can't remember the year, but it was, I believe it was in like 1603 or something like that. Let's see. It was, no, I'm sorry. It was way earlier than that. She was burned at the stake in November 3rd, 1324. So in any case, you can go into this inn. It's still an operating tavern in this beautiful medieval city of Kilkenny. And I was sitting there. Now, I had only had about 3 sips of a pint of Guinness. So I don't think that had anything to do with what happened, but I was just kind of looking around. There's a statue of like a witch with a broom inside the place, and it's really fabulous in there. It's certainly, I think, probably the maybe like the oldest or the second oldest place I've ever set foot in. Certainly the oldest place that served food and alcohol. And they have this beautiful kind of little hearth, and on the hearth there's 3 cauldrons, and it's kind of got a little bit of like a, some witchy bundles. And I was looking at that, and I kept looking at it thinking like, oh, am I seeing, what I think I'm seeing? And then next to that, this sort of like mist appeared, and I was there with like a group of maybe like 6 or 7 people, and 2 of them kind of had their backs to this spot, but the rest of us could all see. And I'm squinting, I'm looking, I'm seeing this like mist kind of come around the corner. And I just think, oh, it's steam from the kitchen. That's because when you have anything that is actually paranormal happening, you usually frequently trying to just explain it away. So I'm like, okay, I think this is I think this is mist. And I'm looking at it, and then one of the people in the group just looks at me and says, hey, this is like some couple of acquaintances, a couple of people that lived there, and a couple of people I was traveling with. And they kind of like, what are you looking at? And I said, do you guys see that? Like, see how all that steam is coming around the corner? No one else could see it but me, but there was distinctly steam coming around the corner. So I am led to believe that I saw something, because if it was steam coming from the kitchen, then the kitchen wasn't actually quite positioned in that way. I was just imagining like the dishwasher opening up and all the steam coming out, but nobody else saw it. So I think I got a little nod from Dame Alice when I was in that place. The shape-shifting black cat witch of Kilkenny. It's pretty great. Oh my. Yeah. Hit all the buttons. Oh God, no. I was thrilled. I was delighted. I was hoping the mist would come and surround me, in like a real hocus pocus moment. That was my hope, but that didn't happen. But I think something was going on there.
My goodness. And you didn't hear any voices or see any apparitions?
Well, I mean, I just saw this kind of like misty thing coming around the corner, but I didn't actually see anything physical manifest. However, I did have, we stayed in this hotel that used to be a bank, and it was full of like women having hen parties. And so there was just singing all hours of the night, or so I thought. I had several times I was woken up with the blankets kind of being pulled off of me. And I was just like, okay, I'm just, not used to this bed or whatever. And it happened, I stayed there 3 nights, and it happened the first night, and then it happened again the second night. And then the third night I was kind of onto it and was looking to see if it was the time, but it was, a pretty solid tug at the blankets, not like I kicked it off. And I was, I was alone in the bed, so I would be the one kind of kicking it off. So I did have that happen. That was the same night, but it was a completely different location. But that's not the scary story. That's the fun story.
Well, what's the scary one?
The scary story. I wrote down how to say it in my journal, and I don't know if I really am saying it right, but it's called the Auertach. The Auertach, and it's it's a word for an Irish vampire, but it's based on a king who is known as King Auertach. And he was reputed to be this very small man. Some say he may have been a dwarf. But when I asked for clarification on what that meant, if it meant, dwarfism, or if they actually thought he was supernatural, I kind of got, just that wasn't really addressed. It was kind of got a funny look, like, let me tell the story, lady. So I think he was just a small man. And he was a little bit of a cruel king, but he was also very, very paranoid, and was sure that he was one of those kings that was sure that everybody was out to get him. And so he was constantly accusing people of treason, and he was convinced that his wife was having an affair. And so one night he saw his wife and talking to somebody, and he thought it was her having this, discussion about an illicit gathering. And she's off in one corner. And so he was so distraught by it that he jumped out the window and died, committed suicide and died. And everybody was like, oh, they found him later that night, and they were so sad, and they buried the king. And it was custom to bury a king of his stature upright. And so he was buried upright in the ground, and everybody mourned him. And then the next day he appeared in the castle and was very pale, but otherwise looked completely fine, and was demanding that people bring him bowls of blood to drink.
Even though he's dead.
Even though he was dead. Well, that's what a vampire is basically like, back to, drink the blood of the living in order to have the pallor that makes them appear as if they're remotely alive. They're just sort of these husks. And they have to grab this life force and this blood in order to kind of prop themselves up. Otherwise, they just flap about like a scarecrow or turn into a bat. So they kill him. They call their greatest warrior, and they kill him because everybody knows that he's buried and he's dead. They all witnessed this burial. He comes back the next day. And this just continues on repeat for centuries until, eventually he just kind of, his grave is just kind of covered up, and the creature itself is then spotted, here and there in the hillsides and around Ireland, not as consistently, but this demanding creature looking for bowls of blood. That was the detail that I wrote it down. I was like, bowls of blood. That's just, he calls for his pipe, and he calls for his bowls of blood. Why not? So anyway, I thought that was particularly creepy. You imagine this person like standing up in their grave and then is coming back to life and asking for bowls of blood. And if you don't give them to him, obviously you're next. So you kind of keep the cycle going. Creepy. So yeah, Irish vampires. Fun.
Oh my. And does he still haunt around there today?
Yeah, there's still stories of vampires or vampire-like creatures, and he's kind of said to be the granddaddy. And interestingly, the last night I was in Ireland, I stayed in this castle in the neighborhood where Bram Stoker kind of grew up. And the great thing is, the thing about Bram Stoker is Bram Stoker was an Irish writer There's lots of castles in Ireland. We know some of the things historically that he drew upon, that such as Vlad the Impaler, who was particularly bloodthirsty, and there's a little bit of the legends of Elizabeth Bathory and her desire to stay young and bathe in the bathtubs full of the blood of younger women. So there's a little bit of like these elements in what he created in Vlad Dracula. But there are so many places that claim that Bram Stoker, well, he grew up in the shadow of this castle. I mean, the castle that I was in is called Clontarf Castle, and it was was built on the site where the King of Ireland, Brian Boru, was killed by the Vikings not far from there in like 1150 or something. And so this castle was built later, I think in the 1300s. And Bram Stoker, of course, he grew up in that area, kind of seeing this beautiful castle, but also other castles in Ireland. But I recently was listening to this fabulous Scottish podcast called Scottish Stories. These two wonderful Scottish storytelling women who share stories about folklore and the origin of everything from like food and myths and just practical things. It's very interesting. And they started talking about this particular area in Scotland that Bram Stoker used to vacation. And there's a big ominous castle there as well. So it's just kind of funny because, every castle you go to, they just, like, oh, well, Bram Stoker, he probably drew his inspiration from this castle. And actually, I think it's all true. A writer's ideas don't come from one place. They come from a lifetime of experience. So makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, but it also leads into, once again, what we're talking about tonight with the shape-shifting, where vampires believe they could shapeshift, and many people believe they can too. I mean,
yeah,
I just never want to deal with these vampire things, man. Unlike, and trust me, if some human actually tried to come up and, bite my neck for blood, I mean, it's on. It really is on, know. But I mean, real
it
vampire
needs to be consensual. I think we all agree that needs to be a consensual situation.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, of course.
Hey, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right?
Yeah, no. I know a few vampires in Vegas, so yeah.
Vampires in Vegas. We're gonna find them.
Already, it's gonna become a short story, Dave. Yeah. We've got some writing to do.
You, me, and cousin Bob Vila are gonna go hunt them down with hammers and silver spikes. That's it.
We just wait until the break of day, and we'll just dissipate.
There might be day walkers.
You just have to outlast them. That's all you have to do. Outlast them by like an hour and a half.
There may be day walkers, and I'm not taking that chance.
It's okay. I'll protect you.
All right, you better. As
much as I can. Yeah.
Absolutely. We got 5 minutes to go before we got to go to break here at the top of the hour. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. All right. Back to shapeshifters. The more popular ones like skinwalkers and Wendigo. I mean, these are creatures who have been seen or allegedly seen, chasing cars, chasing horses, chasing other animals, at sometimes at breakneck speeds. I mean, these shapeshifters, how dangerous are they, Varla?
Well, I mean, there's such a spectrum, but by and large, some of the more frightening shapeshifters, I think they're like on the scale of cryptid danger. If it was like 1 to 10, I'd put them in a 10, maybe a 13, because anytime something can appear as something else, it will probably appear as something terrifying at some point in the encounter, but it may not always. And we even have this with mermaids, Dave. Like, mermaids are total shapeshifters. They appear to be these cryptid creatures that are, beautiful and alluring and trying to kind of like enchant you, but they actually also shapeshift, and they can also turn into something much more sort of monster-like in appearance. But it's almost like the beauty is just an illusion, and there's this like really creepy thing hiding behind. Like what is at the core of that shapeshifter? Is it, as you were asking before about like the evilness of the shapeshifter, or the bad energy of the shapeshifter, if that is the core of it. Now, some of them are just tricksters, right? And sometimes stories are told in a way to frighten us, but the encounter itself might not have been quite as frightening. So sometimes in that moment, you're just kind of in fight or flight. You don't really think about it. But by and large, I think shape-shifting is a pretty dangerous thing to have to encounter. It's a little bit like, if you've ever had like kind of like a poltergeist or an entity. I say that, I know I can say that to your crowd and people are like nodding along, but if you've ever had like something kind of throw its voice so that it appears to be like a child or a familiar person, or someone, someone that was, that you would trust, and then it kind of is trying to get you to come down to the basement or ask you for help. It's got a little bit of that vibe to me, that kind of idea of it's trickery, but it's trickery that definitely has, there could be some pretty extreme and severe consequences besides just
Wow.
being really scared.
Magical?
Sorry, say that again?
Like magical experiences? Do you have to watch out for that?
I mean, well, what do you mean, like a shapeshifter or something, like creating a
Yes.
magical experience? Yeah, no, I mean, I think it could be a positive experience. There's lots of stories of like shapeshifters creating kind of, this sort of positive or maybe neutral kind of baseline to just kind of let people know that they've been tricked. Or honestly, anytime you run into a trickster element of any kind, whether it's extreme like a shapeshifter, or it's something like a Pooka, or it's something like, an animal creature that appears to play tricks on humans, that is always this I am of the belief that things like Pookas exist to kind of shake us out of our foolish idea that we have any idea what reality is. And they're sort of like this little rattling reminder that things are not as they seem. And usually those are relatively benign or not particularly threatening, but there's plenty of instances of things being threatening. The Kelpies in Scotland, for example, are these like horse dragon things. And sometimes everything's okay if you see one and it's sort of this like magical transformative experience, but other times they cause shipwrecks, and they cause people to drown, or they cause storms. So they kind of run the gamut. You never know.
I love it.
That's the thing, they're shifty.
Shapeshifting shapeshifters being shifty. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
You know what? That'd be a really cute T-shirt if you had like some kind of depiction of a shapeshifter, and then you just said like shifty on it or something. It'd be cute.
Shifty. Very nice. I might have to do that. VarlaVentura.net is Varla's website, where you can find all of her great books, or at any major bookstore online. Yes, bookstores still exist somewhere around here. More monster talk, shapeshifters, and more when we return on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 is coming up right after this. All right, Dirty, it's all yours, buddy. All yours. Parlay, we're on a 6-minute break. I'll be right back.
Great.
6-minute break. All right. In case if Dave hasn't reminded you, make sure go to Las Vegas, find me, get cartoons, go home and sell them on the internet. I don't know. Dave, tell us about San Francisco, Dave. Don't walk away and ignore your audience. Unbelievable. Yes, smoke break if you got them. Refill your tea. Give your cats and dogs snacks. Painting's still a little damp. Hello, Nancy Hayes. Oh, yeah. Mr. Bothwell, I'm glad it made there. Made it there. Good gods. I trust the glass wasn't shattered. I hope not. It's geographically accurate, by the way, Sir Bothwell, because Falcon Lake is opposite direction of Shag Harbor and so on and so forth. Yes, you know what the picture looks like. Anyways. Oh, it's still sticky. Yeah, the blob is being a pest tonight. Yeah, I come to Las Vegas. I got like 230 some odd art cards now. Did a whole bunch more. And I'm gonna have to bring like an entire suitcase of them. You know what, Penny? I haven't had to use a hair dryer in a long time. Saved a ton of money on shampoo by switching to bald. I really slopped on the water this time. Trying to keep the blob from stepping on it. It's a complete mess over at my house. Blob. There's cat hair everywhere now. It gets in my paints and it's all over the place. And that's why I'm always picking at my brushes, because there's either whiskey hair, blob hair. Just under control here. Okay, settle down there, blob. Switch over.
Hey, there's Blob.
Yes, there is Blob.
You don't mind?
Blob, everybody says hi and you're slightly famous.
My Varla Ventura hat. All right. Spacey Tree, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. And who else has joined us here late? Chrono Trigger, welcome to SOR Chat. Dry Toast, best name on YouTube right there. One Life Man, how you doing? And who else is joining us here? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Cousin Chad, if you are still listening, which I think you are because you're texting me, we got to go rip it up on Mount Douglas. There's apparently some weird stuff up there. Weird stuff up there. Yeah, I've been told to ride up there. Yeah, we got to go for a ride up there. Weird stuff. Weird stuff. All right, big thank you tonight to W. David Page, Deb, and Louie for the super chats tonight. It was it's always great to have you guys help us on out and support this show. And Varla, you don't need to buy a VIP ticket. You being a special guest, you get a swag bag. All right, we got like 7 seconds. I'll tell you all about San Francisco when we return here. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Valia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go once again. We have Varla Ventura for Our Crypted World. She joins us once a month to talk about the spookier side of the monsters that live among us. You can find her book at any major bookstores or online, or go to varlaventura.net. Varla, thank you so much for being here with us, and I'll get you to unmute because you are muted. Yeah.
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Rookie move.
For everybody asking when I was in San Francisco if I did Taco Bell, yes, I did. And I'm going to be honest with you. I ordered like $60 worth of Taco Bell.
Oh, my God.
I so
That's
did.
a lot of Taco Bell.
I have the credit card statement to prove it. It was at 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday night Saturday night. It was Saturday night. I ordered Taco Bell, and I'm going to be honest with you. I pigged out like a sloth. I did. I totally pigged out like a sloth. Look, when you have when you have your closest Taco Bell 2 hours away, when you get into an area where Uber can deliver it to you, you go hard. You go hard or you go home. I went hard. Yeah. Diablo hot sauce, of course. Yeah. Taco Bell is one of the greatest inventions in humanity's history.
You know what I go hard on taco-wise when I'm in San Francisco is this place called Nopalito. And, man, they do, like, the best tacos. That's my taco spot.
Right
Not
on.
Taco Bell.
Right on. Well, you know what? I had a good time with it.
I bet you did.
It was fantastic. But instead of talking
alone
Taco
in the hotel room with Taco Bell.
No. There was. I actually bought. There were 4 other people around, and I bought for everybody. So the The tacos weren't just for me. They weren't.
Oh, I wasn't implying that. I just,
But I did some serious damage. I did some serious damage. I'm pretty happy about that. Pretty happy about that. And nobody could take that away from me. Not a soul could take that away from me. I was shapeshifting into Taco Bell vacuum as we talk shapeshifters tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Varla Ventura. We talked a little bit about skinwalkers before, and one of the creatures that kind of freaks a lot of people out is the Wendigo, which I still don't know how to tell the difference between a Wendigo and a skinwalker. But the Wendigo is said to be having the face of a skeleton of a deer with antlers, more of a human type body with skin looking like it's oozing off of it. Very disgusting type creature. But these creatures seem, from what we hear, are able to shapeshift as well. What can you tell us about these Wendigo?
Well, from what I know of that, the like the skinwalkers are Navajo, so they tend to be, the stories about skinwalkers tend to be further south. Although I think we have the same terms for things that may also be shape-shifting in a similar way. Whereas the Wendigo tend to be associated with, particularly with First Nations of the North, and particularly during a time when, in winter, is most frequently when Wendigo stories are told or when Wendigos are seen. So I don't know a ton about the Wendigo, because I do. I think that some of the things that I thought I knew, I don't. But the descriptions are typically very skeletal, something that's half, maybe vaguely human, but mostly completely a creature, and pretty much exists to punish the greedy at a time when everyone's starving. So the Wendigo comes for someone who takes the last scrap of food without asking or making sure, the children are fed, or the people who have to go out and look for more food the next day have something. So the Wendigo doesn't just, show up willy-nilly. The Wendigo is actually a bit more of a punishment. That's my understanding. It's a punishment of, in dire circumstances. It's a punishment for not necessarily like not doing the right thing, but not considering the greater health of the others in the group. So Wendigo comes on the wind, usually the north wind, slams against the house, scrapes against the tent, rattles against the windows, and really, really wants you to let it in. Can be very, very haunting, can be very disorienting, not unlike the mermaid call, right? When you're like out at sea and you hear this mermaid singing and you get disoriented and you get confused. The Wendigo can also have that effect on people, especially if you are out. There's actually a lot of correlation between some of the like an extreme winter and going into like a hypothermia, a state of hypothermia, and seeing the Wendigo. And I don't say that to say I don't say that to say that it's a a trick of the mind or a psychosis. I say that actually more as evidence that I think when you go into an altered state, like hypothermia, like oxygen deprivation when you're underwater, like extreme fear or extreme hunger, or being a misplacing of time, I think that the veil gets very thin. So that's a great existential debate, right? Like, is it that your mind is playing tricks on you, or is it that your mind is actually allowing you to see things that the way they really are? You can kind of think yourself into a spiral in the middle of the night if you go too deep down that road. But some of the symptoms of hypothermia include just suddenly feeling very hot, like you're on fire. And that's actually how people can die of hypothermia, right? Like they start taking things off because they feel hot, because their body gets to this like weird state. And I remember one of the first times I'd ever heard a Wendigo story. It was about feeling like you were so hot in the middle of the night in a tent, in a freezing, with snow falling all around, that you took off running just to quench that heat that you were experiencing, and therefore basically ran directly into the arms of the Wendigo, and were found the next day frozen to death. So,
oh my,
yeah.
So, is the Wendigo then some
I
sort
don't know
of
why I'm
tulpa?
laughing. That's like a horrible, horrible graphic image, but
Is the Wendigo some sort of tulpa or something then, in your opinion?
No, I don't necessarily think that. I just think that I'm not sure if I explained that thought process very clearly, but I think that when we go into, so shape-shifting, let's just go back to shape-shifting. There are many strong and powerful witches, medicine men, whatever you want to call them, that use trance, dance, other all substances, other ways of putting themselves into an alternative state of mind, a complete alternate reality, which allows them to then shapeshift. And I think that we also can go into that state of mind and see these and see these kind of shape-shifting creatures and bear witness and experience some of the repercussions of them. That doesn't mean that we necessarily wanted to do that. Some people have the second sight. Some people see, most of the people probably listening right now, I would venture to guess, because that's the crowd that we're in. It's late at night, and people come to the show because they have had some kind of connection to the paranormal or some kind of alternate unexplained experience. So I think that that is the ability, kind of, it's that second sight. It's the ability to see these things or to experience these things. So probably in reality, there are shapeshifters. This is like freak everyone out, but there are shapeshifters around us all the time. We just can't always see them. Just like there are cryptids and supernatural creatures. I mean, they're there all the time. We just don't always see them. Sometimes we have the privilege of seeing them. Sometimes we have the curse of seeing them, but frequently we just see a little glimpse, and then every once in a while we have an actual transformative experience. And I think that witnessing the shape-shifting, we have a lot of anecdotal evidence of shape-shifting, but witnessing the shape-shifting, either witnessing a person go into trance and shape-shift themselves into something else, into a supernatural being. And keep in mind, this doesn't mean you have to shapeshift from like man to wolf, or to fox, or bird to human. It can also be another kind of you can shapeshift into a supernatural being, or it can be, as we mentioned earlier in the show, a rock, right? So there are other organic things, a tree, a rock, that can be involved in shapeshifting. So we see glimpses of this. To see that entire process is rare, but it does happen, to actually see something shapeshift.
Okay. And how often do these things shapeshift? Like, would they shapeshift in front of people to maybe bring up the scare factor, or would they more or less just try and keep it, in their own zone so people can't see the change happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're doing when you can't see them. I can't imagine that they're just, hanging out, just, maybe they're just practicing. I really don't know. But I think that when shape-shifting is usually purposeful, it's not really just arbitrary. And therefore, witnessing shape-shifting is purposeful. So it can absolutely be to scare someone, to warn them off, to keep them away from an area. It can be to, kind of as I mentioned earlier, the Pooka, who is my favorite shapeshifter, my favorite trickster of all time, is this kind of Irish, this Irish shape-shifting fairy, and frequently seen alongside the road late at night when you should have been home already. And really, what in my opinion, what the Pooka is doing is it is really making you question your choices. Was it really a good idea to stay for that last round and then stumble home on this path? Was that really a good idea? Because now your life is being threatened. You're on the back of a writhing horse, and you're getting real close to a cliff. So the idea of like actually witnessing a shapeshifter, and I'm of this belief that anytime you have a paranormal experience, it is the invisible world kind of like shouting a wake up call to you. Pay attention, like, something's going on. It could be pay attention to like what's happening in your regular life. It could be just a reminder that you really have no idea what reality is. And I think for people with a lot of anxiety and depression, these things can actually be used as tools to understand that, things are malleable and things change. And so all of those pressures that kind of come down upon us can be cut through by understanding that we really don't understand. And so those pressures are hold no more weight than, a supernatural creature. So I think that they can appear to us. And I think that historically and throughout storytelling, certainly they appear to us at times when we need that lesson. We just don't always know what that lesson is in the moment, of course, right? Like we wish we did, hindsight. But that's why you write down the stories, you share the stories, and then we learn from other people's experiences.
Wow. Okay. That's a mouthful.
Shape-shifting will save society.
Why then is shape-shifting always seem to coincide with the evil, darker side? Are there good shapeshifters out there? I mean,
yes, absolutely. I don't think it really always does coincide. I think we have some default things that scare us and that are very scary. And there's a lot of creepy shape-shifting, unknown things out there. But there are many, many instances of shapeshifters that are benevolent and quite helpful. The Selkies are shapeshifters that are seals that shapeshift into the form of a human, usually a woman. They can marry. They can intermarry, they can have children as long as their coat is hidden from them. Once they see their coat, they shapeshift back into Selkie, and then they disappear into the sea. There are quite a few instances of shapeshifters that actually help. They might guide you out of, something might shapeshift out of a tree, and then it turns into some kind of creature, and then it guides you out of the forest and helps you find your way. There are a lot of actually very benevolent and somewhat playful shapeshifters out there. So it's not all bad. It just, anytime something confuses us, historically, we make that scary because it's confusing, or eventually the story gets convoluted to be something confusing. Not saying everything, that everything's all Lillian Roses. But I do think that sometimes being bested by the supernatural makes us angry. And so we call something evil when really, in fact, it just got the better of us and it played a joke on us. So
What
they're
about
not all
angels?
bad. Angels, angels are something in a class of themselves. And I'll tell you, I never was much of this may come as a shock to you, but I never was much of an angel person until my sister's husband was in the hospital, and he was we didn't know at the time that he was dying. We knew he was very sick, and we knew, it turned out that he died like 2 days later. And I never believed in, like, I never really thought about angels too much, just like not really part of my lexicon. And when everyone had left the room, he kind of pulled me over to the bed and he said, "So something happened. All of this, all of the sudden I was laying in the bed and I started feeling really sick, and I looked up and there was a light above me. And as the light got closer, I saw that it was," I'll never forget him telling me this because I'd never had anyone describe this to me, but he said the light was millions of tiny little beings. And they were coming to take him away. And he said, "Please, I'm not ready. I want to say goodbye to my children." And the light left. And then I wasn't there when he died. Like, it was like 2 days later that he died. But I took some comfort in the idea that he knew what was coming, and he asked it for just a little more time. And to me, that was very angelic. I couldn't think of anything else that it could be. These, tiny little beings made of light. I mean, what else could it be than something angelic? I mean, if you got demons, you got angels. If you've got angels, you've got demons. And whatever they were certainly the bringers of light.
Yeah, no kidding. I actually used to work with a guy. His name is Daryl. He's a very Christian guy. And he actually had a brain aneurysm. And while he was fighting for his life on this side, he actually had full recall of his entire judge and jury of his life. And he said it was just like a courtroom where God is standing in front or sitting in front with the cherubim on the side, and he had Jesus as his lawyer, and the devil had this giant book of every sin he had committed since childhood, and he totally recalls it, and he tells that in his sermons now, just in regards to it. It's one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard. Incredible. One day I got to bring him on and talk about that. It's so powerful. But I mean, getting back to angels for a second, is we got about a minute here before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. I mean, one of the things that we also see a lot of is, say, at car crashes or something, where all of a sudden somebody pulls somebody out of a burning vehicle, and then poof, they're gone, disappear.
Yeah, I love those stories. I hear those stories from time to time of somebody describing a very specific person, a man in a hat, or a very kind person who came up to them and said, "Are you all right?" and sat with them, and then nobody else saw that person, or they disappeared and never they were never validated whether that was actually a person or not. There are countless stories of that. They do often have to do with a car crash or some kind of like extreme injury. I myself have been in more than one. I've been in more than one car accident, and one time actually do think
tell that story. Tell that story when we get back. Tell it when we get back. We got Varla Ventura for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. VarlaVentura.net is her website. Find her books at any major bookstore. Our Cryptid World continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned. Kira, if you're in the chat room, yes, Kira, I know. Back to the gym for me. Back to the gym. I love Kira. She just kicks my ass. I love it.
Was
Hi,
she giving you a
Robin
hard time about the Taco Bell?
Yes. She gave me you know what? She says it out of love. Her and her husband, Mark, are two of the most incredible people. I love them.
You don't have
to
to feel guilty about the Taco Bell.
Oh, trust me, I have no guilt whatsoever. I just have to make sure that I was a little bit of a bad boy there. I kind of said screw it to my diet, and yeah, I can't do that right now. Can't do that. There's a very unflattering picture out there of me right now, and it's like,
That's the worst, right?
yeah. And what's the one? I took so many good photos. What's the one photo Kira gets a hold of? She sends me a picture of my gut, and then she's like, and I'm like, God damn it.
That's
Jesus Lopez, what's happening, man? Yes, Kira, I know. But you know what? She is the most amazing ass kicker that I know. I freaking love her for it. Because I have I know she has my best interest at heart. And some people, you know what? Some people just have that ability, and with her I trust. My cousin's asking, if you're off the air, how do we still see you? I'm just off the air on the radio side. Cousin Bob Vila. Cousin Bob Vila, I'll tell you, man, that guy could make a freaking birdhouse like anything.
Best advice. Offers the best advice.
Yeah. Cousin Bob
Dave,
Vila,
I know I asked you this before you were going to before you were going to San Francisco. Where did you stay?
In San Francisco?
Yeah.
At the Doubletree conference was.
Oh, is that where it was out by the airport? Okay.
Yeah.
So technically South San Francisco.
Yeah. Varla's originally from San Fran.
I'm from San Francisco.
Yeah, she now lives in Minnesota, where she has allowed her child to become a goaltender.
Yep. And he's badass too. 8 shutouts this season. No, 9 shutouts.
My kid, I will tell you this, their final game of the year got a little rough.
Oh, yeah?
And their final game, he was skating, covering his man on the blue line. The winger came up and tripped him, and he banged his head on the ice. He got a mild concussion.
Isn't he in, how old is your son?
9.
Okay.
Yeah. And
was he okay?
I had to take him out of the game. He was just he was halfway not there, right?
Oh God! He didn't have a concussion, did he?
I would say a very slight one.
Oh my God! Did one of his teammates retaliate?
No, they're only 9 and stupid, right? And they got bad coaching, so but he ended up. I had to take him off the ice, and know, halfway through, there's about 4 minutes left in the third period.
Oh no!
And he got injured in the second period, and and so there's about 4 minutes left of the game, the final period of the year. And he just walked up to the glass and he turned and he had he was about to cry. And I'm like, what's the matter, bud? He goes, I want to be out there with my teammates.
Yeah.
I was just like,
team.
I know.
So
I
important.
know.
It's
Absolutely.
so important, especially at that age. That is, all the ages really. But that's
I
the
know.
age when it really, really starts to matter,
So,
I remember
you know,
my son saying to me, "They're not my friends, Mom, they're my team."
yeah,
Not
that's a
not that they
beautiful thing.
weren't his friends, but, they're my team. It's something
It re
different.
it really
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing. So he, we've come home and we're now studying hockey fighting. And the sad part about it is in the Canadian Hockey League up here, the Quebec Major Junior League is banning fighting next year. They're putting me in more strict regulations. The WHL and OHL, they're just killing hockey up here. Killing
But
hockey. It's terrible.
but wait, 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 wait. They're banning fighting at what age?
We got to go. Hold on.
Okay.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. Really appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, just check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Final half hour with Varla Ventura. VarlaVentura.net is her website. And what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We are going to tell you that you can find all of her books at every major bookstore across North America and online as well at varlaventura.net. Varla, we're talking shapeshifters tonight. Right before the break, we were talking angels. I mean, let's get to a couple audience questions here first because we haven't had them yet. Let's go to Brown Dwarf. Brown Dwarf is asking, Varla, do you have any knowledge of Sasquatches being able to go literally inside of trees?
I mean, I've never heard of somebody seeing a Sasquatch like transform into a tree. However, I have frequently pondered in the dark of night or after speaking, as I mentioned, like with my cousin. I personally have never had a Sasquatch experience, but I have spent a lot of time in forests, and I have often wondered if Sasquatch, if they didn't have the ability to not necessarily shapeshift, but that if there wasn't a way to actually, highly camouflage themselves beyond just like the normal camouflage, but essentially become a tree, but not necessarily shapeshifting. I wasn't really thinking that, but I don't know. I've never heard any specific stories about Sasquatches going inside of trees. Makes sense. Have you, Dave?
It does make sense. I haven't heard that. I have heard them, going into caves. I've heard them going underground or whatever it may be, but that's pretty much it. Haven't heard much else. All right,
furry creatures.
Let's get over to You Know It. Could a shapeshifter change its body mass? Example, man size to bug size?
Yes. Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the big things is that, a shapeshifter can be a full-sized creature or a horse, and then it can turn into, something much smaller or, regular sized human. So body mass is absolutely completely malleable when it comes to shape shifting. It's literally shape shifting, right? So body mass is like irrelevant.
Okay. What about voices, projecting voices? We hear a lot of these creatures, whether it's little people, whether it's gnomes or whatever it may be, that are hiding in the forest trying to bring us in to do weird things, maybe take us away, kill us, murder us, eat us for food.
Bring us to the fairy kingdom and have their children. I think like that. It also could be a means of distraction to keep you away from the entrance, to keep you from, trashing the area that they hold sacred. But yes, absolutely, the trickery, the throwing of voice is a great tactic to kind of get somebody to either basically to get somebody to stray off the path. So whether that's stray off the path to something untoward or head back to normie land, so you leave the rest of the woodland creatures alone. That's absolutely like throwing the voice. And I was mentioning earlier, just like there are a lot of people have that experience of a throwing of a voice within their home. And I think we tend to associate shapeshifters with the greater natural world. I mean, I certainly do. It's like, oh, you're out on you're out on this lane, or you're out in the forest, or you're out in the desert, and you see this thing kind of transform. But there's absolutely no reason why it would be confined to the outside world. It can absolutely happen before your eyes in your own home. And I think the throwing of voices is something that a lot of us have probably experienced, in terms of thinking perhaps we have a ghost, or poltergeist, some kind of supernatural being that throws its voice. It sounds like one thing, it sounds like somebody familiar, but in fact it's something else entirely. So that's a great tactic to confuse. And confusion is like step one into bringing somebody into the other world, right? Confuse. This is like distract and confuse, and then while you're not looking, we can really nab you.
You never know where you're going to get nabbed. No, especially in Varla Ventura land.
Dragged by the heels into the forest, whether you like it or not.
You never know where it's going to happen. Stay away from the forest. Stay away from Varla.
Stay away from my apartment.
Yes, very true. Very, very true. And, hey, seriously, though, if you hear voices in the middle of the forest, say you're in the depths, you're on a hike, or you're out, collecting rocks or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden you hear these strange voices in the forest saying, come on in, come find us. Do you go?
I mean, I think that's a personal choice. I think that, if we listen to fairy tales, they tell us again and again, don't do it. Don't follow the voice. Something's going to happen. But I think if you go back a little further and you listen to you're actually listening to the voices. I certainly would. The chances of you hearing them again and actually being able to follow them are so slim. They just get slimmer every time, But I'm also, total weirdo, so probably not advised for most people.
Would you go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would go 100%. Especially if I was by myself, and I didn't have to account for anybody else.
I like Javier Crypted 559, who I got to meet in San Francisco this weekend. No speak English. Turn around.
You're on the opposite. Run.
Way.
Run. Yeah.
That is one of the best comments ever.
Solid advice. I think, it just depends. What are the, I guess it just depends on the person and the circumstance. Yes, I would go. Do I advise other people to do that? No, I do not.
Why would you go?
Why would I go? Just because I like dark, horrible things. I do. And also I'd like to think I wouldn't be afraid. We'll see.
See, I would do that if I had the opportunity to go, let's say another UFO landed in front of me. I would go. I would
Yeah.
walk up to it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be hesitant, like I would be taking baby steps.
Like,
Okay. And if that
you
door
guys
opened,
sure?
and I don't know how I would react if that door opened and something came out, but I think I would go. At this point, after seeing what I've seen before,
Yeah.
I think I would go. And I'm not sure those voices in the forest. I'm not going in. That scares me.
Are you sure they're different? Are you sure it's not the same?
No, that's a great question. That is a great question. And what's the difference between one or the other?
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But
We don't know. Other than a
least
feeling.
at least I can see it in front of me rather than, playing Field of Dreams to see what's on the other, or what's hiding in the cornfield.
Yeah, because you know what happens? You twist your ankle, you
All
fall
the time.
down into a ditch, and then, honestly, I would be more concerned that it were here's where I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go if I thought it were human. If I thought it were another human who was trying to lure me into a situation in which they could do me bodily harm. If I thought it was a supernatural being, I would be like, yeah, cool. I'll go. I'll go explore the other world. It's the human, it's the mortal world that I have a great deal more fear of. Encountering a crazed human in the woods versus like, some kind of backwards talking trickster fairy. I mean, that might scramble my mind a little, but hey, at least it's not going to try and bludgeon me to death.
Oh, I understand. Trust me. I totally
Yeah,
understand.
I don't know. I mean, I say that, I talk a good talk, but I haven't been in that situation too many times. The times when I have heard things, I have gone toward them. I am intrigued by them, and that's that's where we are today. This is
No,
where
I
you
hear
end
you.
up, folks. If you follow the voices, you will end up here.
Yeah, I just don't know if I would. I don't know if I could go. My friend Mike had that happen. And the scary part about that was the voice that he heard was mine. And I was 20 minutes
Ooh,
away.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's weird.
And it scared him. Like, this is a big, tough guy who's been face to face with bears and mountain lions. And this scared him to the point where he had to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, now that is a really good point, because if it were a voice that sounded like ethereal and whatever, but if it was a voice that sounded like my kid and I knew for a fact my kid was nowhere in that area, that would be a different situation. If it is something that was sounding like a living person that I knew for a fact was not there with me, that would give me more pause. Just a voice calling, "Hey, come, Varla, come to the forest with us." That is a little different than, "Hey, mommy, I need help."
Yeah.
Like, that's super creepy. Right?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that I just, like my buddy, he was just like, I had to get the hell out of there. It was too scary,
Yeah, because there
and
was no way it was you, right? Like, there's no way
no,
that could be you.
he knew I was preparing for the show. Right. So here I am in the studio, and he couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
something.
that's a really good point when we say, I mean, it definitely depends on what the voices sound like, doesn't it? Should we
Oh,
hear them?
true enough.
But I
True
don't know.
enough.
I haven't actually, believe it or not, I haven't actually heard too many voices. The things that I have heard frequently happen once and then don't happen on repeat. It's happened. It's happened quite a few times. I've heard my voice specifically, and I have heard my voice. Like one time, I was sure that my brother was in my house. My brother lives 2,000 miles away. There's no way my brother was in my house, but I heard him saying my voice, or saying my name. So naturally, I called him the next day. Oh, you must have been thinking of me. I heard you. I heard you over here. But I do think, yeah, I mean, it's probably should say, yeah, should revise my statement to say that I would always go, and kind of just say, I would take it on a case by case basis. You know, sometimes you just you have that feeling, and you know that it is, you got the EBGBs, and you're not going to do it. It's like, you know, oh, that guy's a vampire, not going home with him.
Oh, I hear you.
Right.
I hear you there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just don't know how I'd react. Like I said, if a UFO landed in my backyard, I would walk up to it now. I would.
It's
But
interesting you say that, because I think that would scare a lot of people. Like that I mean, not me necessarily, but I think more people would be afraid of approaching a UFO than they would be of, you know, stumbling into something in the forest. But again, it could be the same thing, right? It could all be this.
I understand where you're going with that, as the phenomena is all one and it's all encompassing. I get that. And I can totally appreciate and agree with you on that. I totally do. You know, but to me, I guess we justify what we can handle and what we can't.
Right. Well, and I'm not sure that I believe that the phenomena is all one. I'm not sure that I actually believe that. I think that I think maybe multiple phenomena over the centuries are the same thing, and that they are all interconnected somehow. But I don't think it's necessarily all one thing. But still, I think the idea that, yeah, what we manifest what we can handle, and, you know, we take that a little bit at a time, and if we can handle that, then maybe we get a little bit more of a glimpse beyond, because the goal is to not lose our footing in this reality while we explore that alternate reality. That's the goal, right? And it's surprisingly difficult to achieve, unfortunately, right? Especially if you're you know, especially if you're taken by surprise. Now, to willingly go into a state in which you are exploring that alternate reality, and that is part of the practice of magic, that is what you're doing. You are exploring this other reality. You are deliberately trying to connect with this other world, and you are deliberately trying to sort of make sense of it in your own way. So, you know, there's a lot of ritual from a lot of different religions, but in, you know, certainly in the practice of witchcraft, you use some of these forces to try and, you know, you try and harness some of these forces and use them for, well, your own bidding, really. I mean,
well, you know what?
see, it's the kind of stuff that gets you burned in 1306.
Of course it does. Of course it does. You know, are we putting any witchcraft spells over us to protect us from this?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly could, right? You absolutely could, if you were really genuinely concerned that, you know, something were going after you. I mean, people have, right, for like thousands of years. We wear amulets, we wear you know, we carry protective you know, tokens with us, we're buried with them to kind of protect and you know, ground us and keep us from being, you know, pulled rapidly to the other side before we're ready.
Got you. Gotcha. We got
Yeah,
about
so
5 minutes to go, 4.5 minutes to go here before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Varla Ventura is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Now, Varley, let us go. We've been talking about all sorts of stuff with shapeshifters and everything tonight. I got a question for you because, I've never really asked you your opinion on this. But considering that if you heard voices in the forest and you would walk in and you'd be brave enough to do that, what would Varla not be brave enough to do in the cryptid world?
well, great question. Am I alone in this scenario? Because for
Sure.
me, the decisions based on whether or not I'm putting other people at risk versus just me, that it kind of changes. I mean, I know well enough not to follow a specter toward a cliff, right? So there are certain things that I know not to do because it's so easy to get disoriented. And I have been in situations that I turned around. I was following something and then I got a strange feeling and then I turned around. I mean, I've been I've been warned since I was a child not to fall asleep on the fairy mound, and I haven't to this day. So that was honestly, I know that probably sounds like what, but my mother used to specifically tell us that is a fairy mound, do not fall asleep on it. And especially as children, you're particularly vulnerable to the fairy world. But the idea is if you go into this trance state, right? You go into this altered state, which in this case would be sleep, that you are then more vulnerable to, fairy kidnapping. What wouldn't I do? I probably wouldn't go into, there's some caves I would probably not go into. I don't like super closed in spaces, but that's more of a claustrophobia thing than a supernatural phobia. So, I mean, honestly, like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I would just flat out say no to. That doesn't mean it wouldn't happen, but I think I would just kind of have to feel the situation out. Again, 90% of the time, it's the people that I'm with that I don't trust than the supernatural. And so it's very difficult sometimes. And this is maybe, all the women out there will completely understand this, but you are putting yourself in a more vulnerable situation. Always, by walking out the door, you're in a more vulnerable situation. And so not knowing 100% that the humans with you have your back and are people that you can trust, that is usually where my hesitation has ever come in with any kind of whatever, like paranormal investigation or anything like that. I'm more than happy to be alone at night in a basement with a ghost, but alone at night in a basement with, a ghost and 3 paranormal investigators I barely know, that's a whole different scenario to me. So, that's my hesitation usually comes in with a lack of trust of human nature, not the supernatural.
I hear you there. We got 44 seconds. Varla, thank you for another great show. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
You can find my books anywhere books are sold. Internationally, it turns out. And that's varlaventura.net, where you can check out some of my swag and get my books and come see us in Vegas.
Oh, yeah. We are so looking forward to the Vegas party, and Varla will be there. I will be there, and many others will be there as well, including our buddy Merle and Science Bob, Melinda Leslie, Jim Goodall, Michael Schratt, and many, many others coming to hang out with all of you May 19th through 21st at the Golden Nugget. Get tickets at spacedoutradio.com. We love it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Varla. Much love to you. Coming up next,
Night.
We're going to head to the swamp. Then Robin McRae will be here for the Cryptid Report. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Another sparkling show, Minnesota native, Varla Ventura.
Yeah. Good times.
Very good times. We'll see you next month, my dear.
Yep. See you next month.
We have you booked here. Hold on, let me.
I was gonna
You
say
in
I'll text
Scotland?
you about I'll be back before the end of the month. I come back the 9th, so
right.
we're good for. Let me just. I
All
think I have you on my calendar, but let me just triple check since
27th.
we have a Mo.
27th.
27th, I have you. Yep, you're on my calendar. 27th of
All right.
April, and
We'll
then
talk.
Vegas,
And
and
then Vegas. The countdown
Yeah.
is on. The countdown is
Yeah.
on. All right. We'll be back right after this. Good night, Varla.
Okay. Good night. Bye.
Bye, everybody. All right. There goes Varla. Robin McRae's in the background, sniffing around for the Sasquatches. I'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned. All right. How good was that? Wasn't she awesome again? I cannot wait to meet her in Las Vegas. I can't. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so I gotta update you guys on this for people who are waiting for emails from us for Vegas. Okay, we are having troubles with our server right now. It is not getting out to Gmail accounts for some reason. We are working on it. I will be in touch with my tech people tomorrow regarding it, and we'll go from there. But be patient. So we will extend the VIP tickets to April 15th and go from there. But just bear with us because this couldn't have happened at a worse time for us. It really couldn't. Hi, Iceni, Norfolk. How you doing? Good to see you. And yeah, we I do apologize if you haven't got your emails from us previously. Okay, but it's something that it's oh, you have no idea how much I'm pissed off about it. I am so angry about it right now, but there's nothing I can do until we get our domain and emails talking properly once again. So that's what we need to work on, and we're getting there. And hopefully, we'll have it fixed by the end of the week and get things rolling once again. Thank you tonight to W. David Page, Deb, and Louie. Oh, one other thing: if you are waiting for an email, just be patient with us. We will get to you ASAP, and we are working on it. So check your junk mail, and if it's not there, just hit me up again. We might have to quickly set up a new email for that. Here we go, everyone, with the next hour.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Valia is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again where we enter hour 3, which means we're going to head to the swamp as our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I have seen hundreds of these things at night in the woods in the rural areas of Memphis starting around 2020. They are tall humanoid creatures with blacked out eyes and move slowly and in strange, jerky movements. The first time I saw them was visiting a veteran friend who was down on his luck at about midnight on Thanksgiving Day in 2020. He lived on his brother's property in a rundown camper vehicle at the edge of the woods. Between his camper and the tree line, there was the remains of an old trailer that had been destroyed by a tornado some years back. It still had a streetlight on top of the pole that used to run electricity to the destroyed home, and on the other side of the bar was approximately 15 yards or meters of a field that then eventually turns into a dirt road and splits in half with tall grass and brush on the edge of the far side, and the other area being nothing but trees. When I first started seeing these creatures, I thought they were people hiding at first, as they seemed to be grouping more in the darker areas where the light of the pole was not as bright. So I asked my friend about them. Maybe he had some squatters or something that were just drugged out, and he shrugged it off and said that this is actually not a squatter. This was something he had been dealing with for a long time. They were always there, and it didn't really bother him because they didn't do anything really. He also told me that no matter what you did, you could never really get close to one. So, being a combat veteran with 2 deployments under my belt and a firearm for my vehicle, I did just that. I attempted to approach these things. As I got closer, I noticed they were solid white creatures with these weird black eye sockets that moved in a jerky but prolonged manner. There had to be at least 50 or more of them in that field, down the dirt road and at the edge of the tree line and beyond. Determined to let something mess around and find out, I continued to walk towards them, and all of a sudden, they all looked at me with black, empty-looking sockets and instantly caused me to feel more fear than I ever have. I did not approach them that night. I simply turned away, left that area, and took my buddy with me to stay for a few nights at my place because I did not want to leave him there alone. Since the first time I saw them, I have seen them about a dozen times, always at night and around wooded areas at all different locations. I have since tried to run and catch them and failed many times because these things disappear the moment I close in within 5 to 10 yards. Anytime I lose direct eye contact, even if it's just a mere second, they're gone in a mere flash. They can phase in or out or something like that. It almost seems like they're interdimensional. If you can get in close, you can see that the weird jerky movements are a part of their arms, legs, and heads disappearing and reappearing in different positions. They disappear anytime they move, so they have not been seen walking. I have tried to shoot these things many times from my AR-15, but it just seems like no evidence is ever left behind. These things do make audible noises that can be recorded, but does not appear on video from a cell phone or old analog camcorder with cassette tapes. Animals also seem to see them. However, I have tried to show them to people, only about half of those I have shown have actually seen them. I have wondered if I'm losing my mind or if anyone else has ever seen these creatures and tried other experiments. I have searched all over the internet and found a few cryptids that share 1 or 2 similar things, but nothing close enough for me to be satisfied. The only comparable thing was the origin of white zombies, sort of. A few people have told me about this shape-shifting creature, but they don't change or bleed. They are different sizes, some are larger, some are smaller, and usually they are in groups. I like to call them family clusters, and typically there's 4 to 5 of them, usually with 2 taller ones and 1 or 2 smaller ones. Please let me know if you have any ideas of what these could be, or if you have ever heard of something like this before.
Shapeshifters. Again, always coming down to the shapeshifters tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And we thank our resident swamp dweller for another great story to kick off hour 3 of this show. If you want more, it's very simple. All you have to do is head on over to youtube.com/swamp dweller reads, and boom, there you go. Thousands of stories just like that. That's why we love the swamp around here. From the swamp to the forests, it's time for the Cryptid Report. Super Nuke is taking this week off because he's preparing to make a long drive down to wherever he's going for a Bigfoot conference. So filling in this week is the lovely and talented Mrs. Robin McCrae, hanging on out with us to talk all things Bigfoot tonight. How are you, Robin?
I'm good. Surprised to be here tonight, but I'm glad.
Me too. Me too. And
it worked out good.
And you know what I love, Robin?
What?
We have had a number of warm days and more warm days to come, which means the snow is officially melting. And I am just that much closer to getting back to my Sasquatch.
Yeah. It's chilly here tonight, but it's getting better. Like it's supposed to be like in the 80s, I think tomorrow or Thursday. But then it's still getting cold at night. It's only like right now I'm outside on the porch. And it's only like about 40, I think, out here now.
Oh, that's still warm. T-shirt wet.
T-shirt. Yeah, it just gets too hot here in the summer. It's like living on the sun. Nobody wants to do it.
Oh, I know the feeling. Like it's still getting to minus temperatures here, you know.
Yeah.
So at night, but I mean, at least it is getting nice and warm during the days. It hit 10 degrees Celsius today, so that's
Oh,
about
wow.
45 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere around there. Right now, it's about
Ooh.
-4 Celsius, which is nice, and there is no snow, no nothing in
Well,
the forecast.
we had the equinox last night, I think it was, so it's supposed to be the changing of the season, so let us hope.
Yeah. We got a couple more warm days coming up, and it's all in the positives here coming up. So I'm
Yep.
excited. I'm excited because every day I get one step closer to getting back
Getting out.
into that area. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yep, they're waiting for you.
I know. I'm actually going to dig my Jeep out this weekend, and I'm going to fire it up and just take a drive out there just to see how far I can get.
Oh, I would. I think that would be a blast.
Probably. Could be dangerous, though. Be dangerous.
I know they're hooting and hollering around here lately. I've had more people call me. It seems like that's all lately I get are people calling. They're going, they're really active. What's going on? I'm like, you tell me, we'll both know. Sometimes they'll tell me and sometimes they're just all over the map.
All right. Since we are getting into Sasquatch season, people who live on the outskirts or in the wilderness or near government land, what are the little telltale signs around your property that you can look for to see if you got Sasquatch encounters?
The first thing I always tell people is look for structures. Structures are always locked. So like if you see your arches, at the bottom of the arch, you're going to see where that top part of the tree that they pulled down or the top branch underneath of it is going to be anchored. And by anchored, I mean a rock will be on it, another tree will be on it. So it's anchored. Watch where they come together. They always have them locked in some way. And if it was a natural occurrence, there's no way it would be locked. There would be nothing placed on top of it to hold it down. So first of all, start looking for that. Look for tree breaks. Trees get broken in the woods all the time, but you can tell if it's a natural break or if it's not. Keep an eye out for how high up it is. That's a good indication on what size. Always look for footprints. Listen to the noises that you hear outside. Find out, is it getting quiet all of a sudden where it's been loud? Or is all of a sudden there's like this explosion of noise? Another fun thing that I always do is I will go like before it gets dark and I'll go around the outside of my house. I'll look on the ground. I'll check for any sticks, rocks, anything. And kind of like, even if I have to take pictures of it. So I've got that proof of what the ground looked like before I went to bed. I look up towards the roof. Is there anything on the roof? And then I go out the next morning. And a lot of times I'll find rocks have been brought in or things have been left or a glyph has been left on the ground or a rock's been tossed out on the roof. So it's a very subtle signs, and that's what you're looking for. If you're waiting for this big grandstand of, hey, I was here, it doesn't always happen that way.
No. How come it doesn't happen that way? Because these creatures, and this is where I get a little confused. From what I've learned about these creatures from you and many other people out there, these are creatures of habit. Okay. They like things the same, yet they never leave the same thing around.
No, they like us to be predictable. They want us to be the same all the time so they know what to expect. Them, on the other hand, it's completely different. They do whatever they want, when they want, how they want. They are still, to a degree habit forming. Like we know what kind of time that if we go outside, we're going to be hearing noises or whatever. But for the most part, they like the predictability from what they're watching. And while we're out there watching them, they're out looking and watching us.
Okay. So when you mention that they are out watching us, when we're out in the forest, hanging out there, doing our thing that we normally do.
Yeah.
Could be everything from, looking for rocks to picking berries to hunting to hiking, camping, whatever it may be. Are they looking at us alone or are they always in groups?
They will wander away from the groups and they will watch us for a while, but you have to remember they're all telepathic. So if they get concerned about anything, it literally takes a millisecond for them to alert the others. Generally, if there's one out there, there may be some space between them and there may be another one farther away. But because they're so consciously linked and they're telepathic, it literally takes seconds for the rest of them to get there should they need be.
Okay. So how far away would the other ones be, you think?
It can be anywhere from, 100 yards to an eighth of a mile. I mean, they would come in at my house at night when I was in Michigan, and they would holler to the other ones, and they would literally be like 2 miles away, and you would hear them call back, and it took just a matter of seconds and they were there. Like, they cover a lot of ground really fast. Now, if you're talking about a situation where they've got the children out, they are never going to be without some type of guards watching these children. So when the one brought the baby for me to see, and she let me get quite close, I was only like 30 feet away from her, maybe somewhere in there. And of course, I didn't do anything to try to hurt the baby. And she, didn't have a problem letting me watch it. But I also knew if I would have tried anything stupid, they would have come crashing out of the woods in a heartbeat. And it was a test. And as soon as they found out that I wasn't going to hurt this child, I wasn't going to hurt the mom, like immediately thereafter, they were just all up in my face, even more so than they were before. And they were really active before, but it just like multiplied. It was just unbelievable, the activity after that.
Okay. So when you say activity, what were you seeing or experiencing?
Walking around uncloaked around my yard. It was very common to look out my window and see one or two of them walking around, coming up and sitting under the window, talking and chitter chattering. They always did come up at 2:00 in the morning. Not here in South Carolina. I don't do it because of the snakes are so bad. But in Michigan at 2:00 every night, they would pound on my window and they would wait for me to come outside. And I would literally go out inside in the woods, never took a flashlight because it scared them. Just would go out in my pajamas and I'd sit on a log and they would walk around and they'd chit chat, or I'd sit on my porch and they would be right in the tree lines, or they would walk out into the yard and they would chatter. Sometimes you could hear, them actually speak in words. Other times it was mind speak, but lots of chatter in their own language amongst themselves. But it was very common. It didn't matter if it was daylight, didn't matter if it was nighttime. They were that active. They went past the I'm going to cloak stage and just said, okay, whatever, we're safe here. And they just walked around uncloaked. I had a male that came up I was out in my yard. It was the middle of the day. And he came right up, stood about 10 feet from me. And he was that way for, I don't know, I want to say 10, 15 minutes. And he was in physical form. The only reason he cloaked was because my son was coming out of the woods. And another one that was there, it was a red male, it was a teenager. And he dropped down to the belly crawl through the tall grass where my son was. And they think it's funny if they're doing the belly crawl to knock your feet out from under you and drop you on your butt. They think it's hysterically funny. They will laugh their butt off. They don't do it to be harmful. They do it because they think it's funny. And the grass was tall and I didn't want him to have his legs knocked out from under him. So I hollered to him and said, you've got one in front of you on its belly. You've got another black female off to the right. And when I hollered to my son, the one that was standing like 10 feet from me, it scared him. And then he did cloak right in front of me. But he was out there. I saw every square inch of him. I mean, this was out in the open. When I say they were active there, I've never seen anything like that. It was crazy. They're active where I'm at now, but not to the degree that they were there.
So for people who are living on the outskirts and they think they may have some sort of activity, my question to you is, how do we tell the difference between whether or not it's actually them or a bear or a mountain lion or maybe pack of coyotes or whatever it may be?
Well, I used to put sand down to see if I could get a footprint, but they figured out ways around that too. I even had a female take a branch, put it upside down and use it as a broom and sweep behind her so I couldn't see her tracks. And I actually saw her do it. You don't have to, when you gift them or you put out a gift, to interact with them. You don't always have to use food. You can use beads, you can use white rocks, you can use feathers. They like all of these things. And so if you put them out, if it's food, it's a little bit harder because you've got other animals that will come up and eat it. But if you do other things other than food and you have those out, I always recommend taking a picture after you set everything up, wherever you're going to do it. Don't overwhelm them. Don't put like 10, 20 things out, because they're like a little child and it overstimulates them and they think it's a trap. 2 or 3 things is more than enough. Take a picture of it so you know the position that they're in on whatever you set them on. You know how they're arranged. And then go back and see if they've been changed. It's always helpful, even if you don't mind speak, they do. So you can speak in your mind to them and they will hear it. Even if you can't, they do. And tell them they're welcome to come. And I always tell everybody, set boundaries. They don't always listen to them, but a lot of time they will. And, what I always tell mine is, if you have love in your heart and you're here in peace, you're welcome to come. If you are not here in peace, you will not be welcomed. And I've not had a problem. I mean, I've been to areas and dealt with the aggressive ones, but I've not had it happen at my property. Anyone that ever came in that was a rogue or anything, they ran it all off. But I mean, set something up, take a photograph of it. Don't just rely on your mind, so that if it's moved around, you can document it. Say, yeah, this is what happened. Look at the ground around you. Look at the ground around your house. Check to make sure, are there already rocks on the roof? Because they love to toss rocks up on the roof. They love to go and line up rocks along the bottom of the house, or little tiny stick structures that they'll put on the ground around the house. Little tiny ground X's mean welcome. But everything is done very subtly. And when you leave a gift out to begin with, to start getting that initial contact, it may take a while. So don't feel that they don't like you or that there's none of them around, because some clans forbid them from taking a gift. Other clans, don't care, but they generally will move them around. But it does take a little time, just depending on the individual. Some of them are really brave and will do it right away, where others take a few weeks.
Brave or comfortable?
They want to be comfortable. If they feel relaxed, some of them are just nosy. I mean, we have to remember they are a type of people, and some are just so curious that it's like curiosity killed the cat. And that curiosity overwhelms them listening to the older ones in the clan that say, take your time, be cautious, we're supposed to be afraid. And that just goes out the window. They're like little daredevil kids, and they want to see what's going on. And depending what you put out, they're intrigued. Like the one that loved that blue car you put out. That was a huge hit. They loved that thing.
Got to see if it's moved.
Yeah, they've been playing with it.
I don't know. I'm so curious to get back out there. I really am curious. One of the things I want to talk about mind speak here for a second. We got about 2 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Robin McCrae filling in for Super Duke on the Crypted Report tonight. Robin, I always hear about mind speak. I've heard some good stories about it. I've heard some not so good stories about it. Is mind speak dangerous?
It can be. It absolutely can be. You have to, that's why if I work with people and teach them how to do mind speak, which everybody actually can, it's just that we've been programmed to believe that we can't. And most of us have already gotten mind speak and didn't know how to identify it, that that's what it was. So when I work with people on it and recognizing what it is, the first thing I do is teach them to read the energy. Okay, everything has an energy signature, everything. And so you get used to what feels like a Bigfoot energy, or what feels like a dogman energy or an ET energy. And that will help keep you protected, because if it doesn't feel right to you, or even if you get a bad vibe and you hear something talk to you, don't respond. Don't tell it, I'm not going to talk to you. You don't want any connection whatsoever. If the energy and the vibe that you're getting off of it is not a comfortable one for you, there is no response. Turn up the radio, turn on the TV, do whatever you need to do so that that connection with your mind is not there. You don't want that connection. I don't care. You have to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Do whatever you have to do so you don't think about it, so that it can connect with you. But it absolutely can be dangerous. You have to, be cautious with it. It's like everything else. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that it's good. I think mind speak is a great thing. I do it daily, as does my husband. But, you have to be careful as well. And you have to know what to block out and what not to.
Well, let's talk about that when we return from the break here at the bottom of the hour. Robin McCrae filling in this week for Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio on our Cryptid Report. We love it when Robin is here, because we get to some really strange information about what the Sasquatch want from us? What do they want from you or me? And trust me, hamburgers will be absolutely on the menu. Hot dogs, steak, shrimp, barbie, you name it. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you find out there. I know they've been playing with it. Whether or not they put it back or not, we'll see. But they were very excited about it. That's how I found out you had the blue car, is because they had told me.
Yes, I look forward to it.
And
Look forward to it.
it was funny because I was recording a show with Duke last night. Was it last night? No, Sunday night. Or Saturday night. And there was him and Daniel and myself. And the whole time we're talking, his group that he works with is mind speaking. And they kept saying it over and over again, bacon, bacon, bacon. Because he goes out and buys just tons of bacon for him. And he'll cook it for him and take him up there. And it's like he's the bacon king now. And as soon as they think I'm talking to him, all I hear, my head gets blown up with this bacon, bacon, we want bacon, bacon. And I finally told him in the middle of taping, I was like, I'm not trying to be, annoying or stop the conversation, but if I don't tell you to bring bacon, they're going to blow up my head. So he'll be buying bacon now.
Oh, man. What I would do for some good bacon right now.
I know. Doesn't it sound good?
I am hungry right now. I am. You know what? I'm actually craving celery right now.
I know.
Celery.
Celery's in the celery, in the cucumbers lately. That's like all I've wanted. I don't know why, but it's just, that's the only thing that tastes good to me anymore.
Love it. I love it. Now I'm hungry. Got to stop this food talk.
Did you have fun on your trip?
Oh, I had a blast down in San Francisco. Really
Oh,
did.
I'm so glad. That's wonderful.
You know what? I will say this, and big props to my Spaced Out Radio team. Okay, because this was the first time I had ever gone away to a conference and had zero to worry about.
Yeah, I popped on just to kind of watch and see. I mean, not that they needed me for anything, but I popped on to watch the show a little bit, and everybody was doing great.
Oh, yeah. Last year when I was in Denver as well, I mean, that's 2 conferences in a row where I haven't had to worry about drama. I haven't had to worry. No, 1 conference. Sorry, this one.
Yeah.
This one. Just behind the scenes.
Yeah,
crap.
you've got a good team. You've got a good team. For sure.
And it starts with Kira and Kat and Justin. They are amazing in helping me get set up, and Jessica and Marquise on the shows, and
yep, we had fun with Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica's a blast.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Oh man, no, it was fantastic. Hi, Donald Dean, how you doing? Good to see you. Raul, how are you doing? Let's see here. Who else has hopped on in here? Felt great all day today. I actually got sleep last night. The past few times I've come home in the middle. I've been home in the middle of the night, like 2, 3 in the morning, and then
yeah,
like
that's rough.
Sleep. Hey, my brother Eugene, how you doing? Then you get up at like 7 to go to work, and it's like, oh, not this time. I actually got 8 hours.
That's good. You needed it, especially coming back after a trip.
Yeah, it's nice. What conference is this weekend?
For me, none. Ours is, we have in Georgia. I've got the Georgia Bigfoot Conference the 1st of April, and then the one that I'll be at with Duke, William Lunsford, and Stephen Hill. Blaine Tyler's going to come in and see us. He's not speaking this year. He'll speak next year, but he's going to come in. Christy Sci-Fi is not speaking, but she's going to be there to help. We've got like Don Monroe's going to be there. Kenny Collins is going to be there. We've got a bunch of really good people. Lyle Blackburn's going to be there the first day. Keith Crabtree's going to be there. And that is the third weekend of the month. I believe it's the 21st and 22nd. It's a Friday and Saturday. It's a 2-day conference. And that one, we absolutely have a blast.
Right on. Right on.
So April's a busy month. It's like everything hits in April. And then after April, it takes 2 months to recoup.
All right, we got about 15 seconds. Thank you, Louis, Deb, and W. David Page for the amazing super chats tonight. It very much helps out what we do on a nightly basis here. So thank you so much. Here we go at the final half hour, everyone. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the Cryptid Report. Filling in for Super Duke is Robin McCrae tonight. Robin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We very much appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I always enjoy it here.
All right. Right before the break, we were talking about the mind speak.
Mind speak, yeah.
And you kind of defined what that was, and we were talking about whether or not it could be good or bad. You say it could be a combination of both. How can it be bad? Like, what should people pay attention to?
Well, the problem is when you are open to mind speak, everything out there, animals, trees, cryptids, ETs, whatever, everything out there can mind speak. They're all telepathic. We're the only ones that don't use that ability. So what happens is when you have that opened and you can hear it and you know what you're looking for, and it's not always just words in your mind, that makes you open to this huge network so that anything can talk to you. Not everything is good. You know, certain things are bad and you don't want to talk to them. You don't want them to attach to you. You don't want them to follow you home, and you don't want to listen to them. So that's where you have to have discernment in what you're talking to. And the best way to do it is, you know, get a feel. Like if you have a certain Sasquatch that you're talking to, you know what that one feels like. So if another one comes in and you get this other feeling of a different energy and he says, well, I'm still your buddy Bob. Well, Bob doesn't normally feel like that. That's when you're going to shut it down. You don't even speak. You don't even say, I'm not going to talk to you. You simply disconnect. You disconnect by white noise. They cannot find you. They cannot read you. They cannot speak with you through the white noise. So if that means a TV gets turned on loud or radio gets turned on loud, start singing to yourself or whatever, but they have difficulties locating you in white noise. So that's what you want to be careful for. It's a wonderful thing. I encourage people, you know, to do it, but you have to be on your toes. Not everything is going to be good. I mean, Pat and I speak to these things on a daily basis, and there's times that one will come in and say, I'm such and such, and we know it's not. And we have to do the same thing. We have to use that discernment and just say, forget it. You know, we're not responding. We're going to turn this TV up or the radio up, or get busy and do something else so that we're not focused on it, so that it can, you know, it can attach to us or try to connect with us through our consciousness. So it can be a good thing. You just have to know going into it that you have to use discernment in it. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. You know, I mean, I went out in the backyard last night with the Pyrenees, and there was one in the bushes in there, and she was all happy and excited because she loves them. So she went running over to the bushes 90 miles an hour, you know, and he was in there, and he wasn't mean. He wasn't aggressive. All I could see was a dark shadow in the bushes that was very large, about 9 foot. But she was completely happy. I mean, she was ecstatic. And, I did try to talk to him. He didn't say a whole lot. He was making, it sounded like a horse in there. He kept, how the horses blow and they go like that. He kept doing that at the dog over and over again. And I said, don't worry. We're not going to hurt you. I'm going to take her out of here. And he was fine. But you have to have that discernment and go by what your gut feels. If you get something in your head talking to you and you feel apprehensive, if you feel uneasy, if it doesn't feel completely calm and that warm, fuzzy feeling, you don't want to do it.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
So in regards to the mind speak, can they do this to other creatures as well? Maybe deer
Absolutely.
or
Mhm.
okay, explain that.
Well,
How would an animal
excuse me.
react comparatively to how you or me would react?
Well, even like with your dogs, if you watch a couple of dogs together, they're telepathic as well, and they just know how to respond to each other, just like you would if you were speaking verbally. Perfect example of what you're describing, and Duke and I talked about this when Jessica was on the show last week, is I had a baby Bigfoot in the front yard, and there was a doe out there, and she had a fawn with her, and I saw them. It was at night, it was later on in the evening, it was like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and he was sitting at the edge of the driveway, and we live on a dirt road. She was on the other side of the road by the bank of the road, and she was eating grass completely calm, and he did a belly crawl over to her, and he's like right by her feet, and she never reacted at all. And they do what's called a trance, which they can mentally speak to you telepathic, but they can also do this trancing thing. And basically what it does is it calms your brain so that you're non-reactive. Your brain is fully functioning. You can still continue to do what you're doing, but you don't go into panic mode. So they do the same thing with the animals so that they can control them. Multiple people have talked about how they gentle the horses. Well, they do gentle the horses, but they use a mind control to be able to gentle them. And they do this trancing thing and they've done it to me before. I've had it done to me. It's painless, doesn't hurt at all. Your brain is fully functioning and your brain is going, wow, look at that. This is what's going on. Oh my gosh. But your body stays calm. Your body stays relaxed. And they can completely manipulate them to do whatever they need them to do that way.
Okay. All right. So when they do it to, say, beta animals like deer or rabbits
Mhm.
or whatever it may be, is it different because they're probably looking at them as a food source?
Yeah, I would think so. At that point, I think they would probably, they'll go and catch them on their own anyway. But I have seen them with the rabbits where they put them in a trance and the rabbit just is actually almost like it doesn't react at all. And that was pretty much what that baby Bigfoot did the other night with that doe, because he did a belly crawl. He was sitting at the end of the driveway and he was like sitting on his butt, and it looked like from the back watching a chimp sit there. And it was about 3 foot when he was sitting down. And then he stood up and then went down on his belly, and he just did a belly crawl right up next to her. And she literally was unresponsive. She kept eating. Her tail twitched a little bit, but she was non-reactive. And they just do that. That's how they do it. They just keep their brain where their brain might think about it, but they have a way using energy and vibration that they have and infrasound where they just keep the body completely calm and relaxed.
Okay. So could they almost paralyze a creature
Yeah,
into submission?
I think if they wanted to, absolutely. And I think they do that a lot with the rabbits. Like the deers, they try to run up on the deer, and if they can get close enough, they grab them and they put one arm around the neck and they break the neck going backwards, and then they grab another arm and that goes at the back legs and they snap those, and it ends up breaking the back as well. But when it comes to these smaller animals like the rabbits and stuff, I firmly believe that, I'm not saying that they won't occasionally try to go and sneak up on one, but they absolutely will, paralyze them, trance them, or whatever they have to do to be able to get up on them.
It's a good way. Don't really have to fight for your prey.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it work with fish too?
I would
Consider
imagine. I'm not going to say that it does. I've not seen them do it with fish, but I have seen them catch fish. Now, whether or not they tranced it, I couldn't tell you, but I would say yes, that it could, because they do it on everything. And all the cryptids can. It's not just them. The ETs can do it. The regular cryptids can do it. All of those can. And just like when you were talking earlier about could they shapeshift? Absolutely. They all do it. I've watched them do it.
John wants to know more about cloaking.
Okay.
What is going on with this cloaking stuff? How do they do it? What's it all about?
Okay. The cloaking is done. They raise the vibration in their body. They raise the energy in their body. And what they do is, and this is their words, not mine, because Pat and I have both asked, and we've asked different clans, and they all said the same thing. They bend the light. And when they raise that vibration and the energy, that's how they do it. And they bend the light. And I've had them right in front of me before, and then all of a sudden they're not there. Multiple people have witnessed this as well. And that's what they claim they do. Now, there's a difference in cloaking and what they call a shimmer. And the shimmer looks like the predator effect, like in the movie Predator, where it looks like a gelled water almost. So you can see that. That's called a shimmer. And then the other thing that they can do is blending. Their hairs are actually hollow. And so when they go like up against a tree, because they have that hollow hair, they can turn any color they need to blend in with that so that you can't even tell they're there.
Okay, so can every Sasquatch do this, or any cryptid do this, or is this something?
Yes, but the difference in that is certain clans use all of the paranormal abilities, where other clans don't. It's very similar to how we have Amish people that, not that they can't use modern conveniences and electricity, they choose not to. Certain clans will stay old school and not want to use those other than the telepathy. So if you have a group that is like that and they don't teach their children that they have that ability and they can do it, they don't know that they can. Once they are taught that they have it, or even told that they have it, then yeah, they all have the potential to do it. It's whether or not they've been taught by their parents. And in Glag's case, if you remember when Super Duke talked about Kevin Lang and Glag did not know in the beginning that he could cloak. That was something he learned later on. So yeah, they absolutely all have the ability to do it. All the cryptids do, the ETs do. It's a matter of if that particular clan has taught the kids that they can. And if they haven't, once they get up and they're on their own and they've moved on and they see another one do it, then they'll start doing it as well. But they all have that potential to do it, yes.
Excellent. Now, can other cryptids do it as well? Dogman?
Yeah.
Little people?
Yep. I've seen him do it.
You say that very matter of fact.
I've watched it. A lot of this stuff, like when I talk about it, I can talk about my experiences, but I didn't learn like a lot of this in any books or anything. I learned it because they taught it to me and because I've witnessed it myself. So that's why I can sound matter of fact about it, because I've seen it happen over and over again. And I've had witnesses with me that have seen it when I did. So I can't say, well, I lost my mind or whatever, or, the sun was in my eyes. Other people have seen it as well. But yeah, they do. I had a dogman that came in the backyard and he was friendly. He wasn't mean at all. And you could just see the translucent outline of him. And he was in that shimmer until he came out of it.
How come other animals like dogs, cats, deer, bear can't use this?
I really don't know. I'm being honest. I have no clue why they don't. Of course, you have to understand that the cryptids are crossed with an ET. As far as we know, our dogs and cats and other animals are not. And that's the side that they get the abilities from. Like, even in the Ketchum DNA study, it's unknown on the father's side. Well, it's listed as unknown because GenBank did not have ET DNA. So the father's side stays unknown. And scientifically, they can't even go past that or even guess at what it could be, because GenBank does not have anything in it, where on the mitochondrial side, which is the mother's, it was human. Now, in my case, and this was long before I met Melba, I simply asked them, I said, I want to know what you are, because everybody at that point was fighting about it. And the Bigfoot community, I said, what are you? Because I already knew they had to be a people of some sort because of what I was watching them do. And they pointed to me, where there's 3 of them together. It was outside at night, and they pointed at me and they said, "We're human like you." And then they pointed to the sky and said, "And star people." And I thought, well, they ought to know, and the Dogmans were the same way. The Dogmans, Melba Ketchum has a new study out. It's the Cryptid Genome Project. And she is testing now all kinds of cryptids. And the Dogman has already been started. And we'll have to wait for those results. But what I've gotten from them was a canine human ET cross. Now, does that mean it's right? It could have been just what was told to me by the cryptids. That doesn't make it so. So we will see what she comes up with on her end. But again, she's never going to be able to say that it's definitive coming from an ET, because there's nothing there in GenBank for the ET. The government has that signed and sealed. You can't get anything to test it with. So it's going to come back unknown for that part.
Right. Just like everything else comes back as unknown.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So the idea that, we've learned from you tonight about what to look for in our own areas if we live in a wilderness, and we've learned about mind speak. What other warnings should we worry about
with the mind speak?
With mind speak or the creature in general?
Well, I think as far as they are concerned, it's all about respect. I mean, they will give you subtle warnings. If you're coming into an area that they have, and they have their children there, or they're hunting, or they're, working with their kids, or the family units and the women are there, they're going to let you know. They, 85% of them are really not looking to hurt you. Just like we have people that are murderers and killers and rapists, they have that too. But 85% of them, they don't want to bother you. They either want to be left alone completely, or they just want you to respect their space. So if you get in there, and if they're tossing little tiny pebbles at you, that's just letting you know they're there. Don't worry about that. But when you're getting, rocks like this, and they're coming and they're aiming at you, they aren't hitting you. If they want to hit you, there's nowhere you can go. You're getting hit because their aim is impeccable. And they will do the yelling, they'll do the footsteps, they'll make noises to try to get you to turn yourself around without having to have that physical altercation where somebody could get hurt. So look for the signs, listen to the signs. Just because you see one doesn't mean it's going to kill you. And I get multiple people, and there's nothing wrong with this. I'm glad they contact me, but they see them waving their arms, and it's terrifying to them. And I can understand that. But in our people, a waving of the arms, if you're in the military, is a surrender. And another thing I find is very common with them is, if you're going down a path and you see one come out and scream at you and wave its arms at you because it wants you to now turn around, it's not necessarily that they are being aggressive or they don't want you. There's been multiple cases where they've tried to turn people away from a bear or a cougar or protect them from harm's way. And so listen and watch for those subtle signs. If you go into the woods and you're in an area and you get a creepy feeling, or you feel that negative feeling, that means your body is responding to the negativity of the energy that's there. Your body will respond to the energy before your brain will. Listen to it. If you walk in and you feel very peaceful and you feel very comfortable, then that's okay. If you go in and you're like on edge and you're antsy and you're picking up a vibe, like, things don't just feel quite right, that's your cue that says, hey, whatever's out here, the energy it's radiating is not happy. And you simply walk away.
You make it sound so easy.
It's not easy at all.
Have there been cases of Sasquatch tracking people for nefarious behavior?
Yes, absolutely. If somebody's in an area and they've tried to get them to leave and they won't leave, they'll shadow them back. They'll literally follow them, and in some cases they'll have more than one, and they'll kind of like go on both sides of them and flag them all the way back to their vehicle to make sure that they go back where they're supposed to be. Or if they feel that you're some kind of physical threat, like let's say you happen to get too close to an area where the children are at, they're not only going to follow you back to your car, they're going to follow you home and make sure that you've gone home and you're not coming back there. It doesn't mean they're going to attack you, but it means that you've done something that they either are intrigued by and they felt like you had a really good heart and they wanted to be closer to you, or maybe you went into an area that they would prefer you're not at and they want to make sure that you're not, coming back anytime soon.
Okay. What about rogue pods of these creatures?
The rogue ones can be dangerous. I'm not even going to say that they're not. I mean, that would be foolish because they are. They're just like if you were to go down in Detroit, Michigan, where all the gangs are at, how safe would you feel? You wouldn't, because you know that you're taking your life in your hands. The rogues are the same way. But again, most people, your body automatically feels that bad energy, and it will feel it before your brain will realize it. So if you're going into an area and you're picking up that uneasy feeling, if you're picking up where you're uncomfortable, or you know something just doesn't feel quite right, listen to that sixth sense that you have. Listen to what your mind is or your body's telling you by reading that energy. Our bodies know how to read energy. We have to learn how to understand what our bodies are reading. So, you go out there, I don't care if you've planned this for a month and a half to go to the certain spot, and you go out there and it feels off and it doesn't feel right, then it's not the day that you need to be here. And in your case, Dave, you experienced that. And you had called me and said, listen, there's some stuff going on there. It just didn't feel right. And I said, give it 2 weeks. And you went back in 2 weeks and you had your sighting.
True enough. That is very true. You called it.
Yep. It's just things wander in and out. They're walking through their territory. They're walking through others' territories. And then you have the rogue ones that just don't care whose territory is what. And they're just wandering through. And they aren't normally as friendly because they've been isolated from other clans and they're living by themselves and they've been ostracized and they're mad at the world. So again, listen to what your body picks up. If it feels off, listen to it.
Robin, we got about 1 minute left with you. Tell everybody where they can find you and where you're heading off for conferences.
Okay. If anybody needs to reach me, they can reach me at RLYNNE and then a period, Forest, FOREST people @gmail.com. And April 1st, I will be in Dillard, Georgia at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference by Dr. John Stamey. And the 21st and 22nd of April, I will be in Nebraska in Hastings for the conference there. And that's on that Friday and Saturday, which is, I believe, the third weekend of the month.
I love it. I love it. I always love having you on here.
Oh, we always have a good time. I love being on the show.
Oh, yeah. I love it when you're on here. The good news about it is we will do it again
on Thursday.
Thursday.
You got it.
For the shortened edition, because I do have to do the Dave 101 night
that
night. But Robin, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. It was good to see you.
Thank you for being a great friend of this show. We appreciate it. Robin McCrae, everybody. Yeah, what a great show. Thank you to Swamp Dweller, Varla Ventura, and Robin, of course, for coming on in and making it a great show of strangeness tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, LinkedIn, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Woohoo! We made it! We made it!
Yes, you need to go get some sleep.
Well, I got to edit the show here, so I got another 30 minutes or so, but that's okay. It'll speed on through like it normally does.
All right, sweetheart. Well, I will see you Thursday, same place, same time.
You get off to bed there, Robin. Thank you, my
Okay.
dear.
Take care. Love ya.
Love
Bye-bye.
you too. Bye. Robin McCrae, everybody. What a gem. What a gem. What a gem. All right. Why is that one still like that? Boom. Save. Go here, go there, go there, go there. Boom. Save. Now, why is that doing that? So let's check this out again. Manage. Good. 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 Okay. Let's get to give me 2 seconds here, guys, because then once I'm going, I can oh, I didn't want that. What are you doing, Davey? What are you doing? It's not like you've never done this before. All right. So let's hopefully those stick. Anyways, I'm off the chain for Dave's return. Hello, lovey love. We'll see you in Las Vegas. Yeah, we will. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Weird. Smells like apple in here all of a sudden. No apples in here. All right. Is Jason still around in our chat room? Jason, are you still around? Just a yes or no. Tim, I got your email for that Zilla or whatever it is. I don't have an American account for that. So we'll get you an email soon regarding what to do, but it'll be no problem for you, dude. As long as your name's on the list, we'll make sure, okay? So you don't need to worry about that. Where is Jason? I'm gonna talk to Jason here. Is Jason still here? Hey, Kevin, how you doing? All right. Let's I'll break it all down for him here. Once Jason returns, we'll break it on down. Black Dragon just seemed to disappear. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while. Then he came back and then he's gone again. I don't know where the heck he is or if his work schedule changed or whatever. I don't know. People come and go. Just the way it is. Life changes. They get different sleeping patterns. Whatever it may be. All of a sudden, they don't like the show or whatever. Some people find the show repetitive. Heard that one. Hey, Jason, how you doing, buddy? All right, Jason Brown. Couple things. Number one, we are a show of entertainment, which means that for our terrestrial radio stations, we are a show of entertainment to bring some high strangeness to their airwaves. And that's what brings our ratings, and that's why our ratings are some of the highest on the radio stations that we broadcast on. But I understand your point, okay? But I always like to counter that with this: what is proof? Okay, and to someone, let's take someone like Robin, who you are very new to. Hi, Marie. How are you? San Francisco was great. So somebody like Robin, whose story and experiences that you are new to. Hold on. Okay, Duke, just let him speak for a minute, okay? Because I want to explain to him here. All right, just let him. Don't time him out. So for somebody who doesn't understand what we do here on a nightly basis, okay, our job is to kind of bring those stories out of the research that everybody does. Okay, now it's up to you whether or not you want to believe it, and you don't have to. Okay, if you choose not to, and that is fine, then what the only thing we ask is, maybe that one isn't the show for you, and that's cool. But I have I know I'm jumping all over the place here because I'm doing about 16 things at once right now. But one of my big thing is, what is proof? If she shows you a picture, you're likely not going to believe it. If she shows you a video, you're likely not going to believe it. I'm not saying you, I'm saying the skeptics in general. Okay. The only thing that she can do is tell you her word. Now, I have personally worked with Robin, who has been highly accurate in my own Sasquatch area. And I would be like Duke is with his channel. I would very much likely be in the category of believing what she says because I've seen the results personally with my own Sasquatch area. Now, that being said, how do we question it? The only way you can question it is by trying it out for yourself. So if you are a Sasquatch hunter, you can ask her to help you out. You can. And you can see the results for yourself. So I understand your frustration. I understand your point. Okay. I understand with what you're doing. I would say there was a few comments that were kind of trolling for what we're used to. Okay. We have an attitude here that we try to believe everybody. Okay. And we vet our guests as much as we can. And we go on a lot of reputation of what people say about them and who they are and their research and everything like that. And I would say for the most part, we bring in very high quality people regarding their fields of expertise. Not everybody's going to meld with them. Not everybody's going to believe them, and that's fine. Man, I'd hate to see how you react to our Keith Andrews. Holy cow. But nonetheless, you know what? We are mainly for bringing the fun information, that late nighttime weird strangeness radio that we all used to love with Art Bell. And we just kind of go from there, right? And the other point too is you've never stepped in my shoes. I've never stepped in yours. And the big thing there is, who am I to tell you that your stories are wrong, not real, not a part of anything? To you, they are. To me, my stories are. How do we get real about it? And it doesn't matter whether it's UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, or anything. The best evidence that we do have regarding the entire phenomena is anecdotal stories. Are they provable? No, hell no. But they're very real to the person. And around here, we try to give those people the benefit of the doubt. And makes for a fun time. It makes for a fun room. But hey, you know what? Our show is not for everybody. There's a lot of people out there who are friends of mine who disagree with what we do. But they respect the fact that we have our niche, and that's the way we just kind of do it. That's the way we've always done it. My show is very much about bringing those nighttime stories to people who are up at this late or just want something weird or strange to talk about, the way Art Bell used to freak people out. So that's what we do. And hopefully that's good enough for you that you come on back. I'm not saying don't ask questions. Samantha will be on April 10th. I'm not saying don't ask questions. I'm just saying that there's a way and a how. And once you get to know me, like I've been accused of not asking tough questions. I've been accused of having fluff type radio or whatever. But once you get to know me, you'll actually learn that I actually ask a lot of tough questions. I just format those questions into more of a softer tone. Because I don't believe in aha, gotcha type moments. So I hope that works for you. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. Deb, we don't advertise other shows in our chat rooms. No offense to the show you mentioned. Joey Zed, what's happening? Double day. What's happening, man? And realistically, for hour number 2, hour 2 is a lot of times your questions, not even mine. But the one thing that, if anybody asked me, hold on, I thought this was an open chat open to, I have studied this subject for decades. Oh, yeah, Jason, always ask questions. Always ask questions. But the one thing that I will say to you, my man, is this, okay? I always try and put it in my head this way, and this is kind of what I've tried to teach the audience. Whether or not you believe what the guest is saying, that's fine. That is completely okay. That is totally up to you. Okay. But the one thing that I always try to keep in remembrance in the back of my head as a host is I always try and remember that person is giving up 2 to 3 hours of their time for us. Usually we're late at night for a lot of people who are, say, on Central Time or East Coast time. Like you take Robin, for instance. Okay, Robin or Varla was Central Time, so that's an 11 o'clock start for her, 9 p.m. where I am. And Robin, who came on an hour 3, who never says no to this show, is on the East Coast. So she had to go to bed, then get up for 1 o'clock to come on the show until 2 her time or 3 her time. 2 to 3, pardon me, 2 to 3 her time. So the big thing for me is I always try and tell people, look, whether or not you respect the guest or what they're talking about or whatever, respect the fact that they gave the time for you. And I'm not saying that you're not, so I'm not trying to accuse you of that or anything like that. So please don't take it that way. But the whole time thing is this. So if you ask a question, I will always ask a question from the audience. At least I will do my best to ask questions from the audience. Sometimes I don't see them. Put them in capital letters if you want me to get to them. And I will do my best to get to them. I normally try to get to all of them. Sometimes I can't, but just formulate your questions without it sounding attacking on the guest. Not that I'm trying to, be politically correct here or anything like that, but to me, if that person, like for instance, I've been on talk shows where people have asked me for an interview and I have been raked over the coals about my experiences, people saying my own personal experiences. I'm lying about them because I just want my 15 minutes of fame or grow my own YouTube channel or grow my my podcast format. Guys, I can tell you right now, the majority of my listeners are on terrestrial radio. Okay. Like YouTube really has nothing compared to what our listenership is on terrestrial radio. And we have the numbers to prove that. And the point that I'm getting at with that is I'm about to go blurry here in a minute. Okay. As I'm uploading files. The beautiful part about that is, there's always going to be contradicting pieces to what we do. And I just try to blend it all together. I try and make sure that we can get everything kind of brought in together and formulated so that way everybody can try and have a little bit of a good time with it. So, like I said, I don't mind if you have a tough question that you want asked, I have no problem asking it. Just formulate it in a way that if you were the person on the air, formulate the question in a way that is not offending that person's time. That's all I ask. Like I said, I'm not saying about being politically correct because I freaking hate political correctness with a passion. But it's just one of those things that I always try to remember personally that person is giving us their time, and I want to respect that time. That's just me personally. So that's the way. When can we expect that doc on Bigfoot? I don't know what that means. Sorry. Sorry, Mike. Hey, thank you, Derek, for that awesome super chat, man. It's going to be so nice taking your money in Vegas at the poker table. Just saying. I got a poker face, man. See, like I was saying to you, and Evan, thank you for reminding me. I think there are too many podcasters, YouTubers out there that try for those aha gotcha moments. And trust me, I have heard from numerous guests, and it's not 1 or 2 or 10 or 20. Over the years, I'm talking a couple hundred guests that they will not go on certain shows because what the host does says the show is about is completely different than what they are getting on the air. And there seems to be this real movement of citizen journalists and citizen bloggers and everybody like that who want to have these aha gotcha moments where they get into these pissing contests with the guest. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think that's slimy. I think when you're trying to railroad somebody in a public forum, it's not very cool. You know, like, and it all depends on the guest too. Like, for instance, if I had Rick Doty on, I know 30% of those questions are going to be about, well, ask him about Paul Benowitz, ask him about Paul Benowitz, ask him about Paul Benowitz. And my reality to that is no, I'm not asking him about Paul Benowitz for a couple of reasons. Number one, for the last 30 years, he's asked about Paul Benowitz. Number two, I have already asked him in previous shows about Paul Benowitz. And number three, the whole Paul Benowitz topic may not have anything to do with what we are talking about that night. So, it's something that we do. Hey, Jason, you bring up a good point. Okay, he says, I've been a follower of this channel for years. I study the subject looking for the truth, not for entertainment. However, I understand. Oh, you have to realize, and that is a solid question, or not a question, a solid comment. We're all looking for truth. We all are. But on the business side of things, for what I do, okay, it's I have to blend both. And there are a lot more hardcore shows out there about our topics, and I think it's great. I listen to a few of them, and I think they're fantastic. I really do. There are guys who do some great work here. Okay. And when I say guys, I'm not talking just men. I'm using the term in general. And you know what? We get very solid ratings on those shows. The problem that I have for me, and this is a personal level, this is where I am personally weak on it, is a lot of the people who do those shows don't have daytime jobs. Or they're trying to be that Howard Stern type of person, or that wannabe tough question guy who doesn't care about whether or not they ever come back. We're going to hammer you. We're going to hammer you. And that's not what this is about. The entertainment side is because I have terrestrial radio stations that are trying to break into this subject that really want us to capture that audience. So we have to try and blend everything together. It's a tough task. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. It is a very tough task in what we are doing. We're doing our best. And like I said, some people are going to get sick of it. Some people are going to be not wanting any of it. Others are absolutely going to love it. That's why they're here every night. But we do both. And like I said, there's a good way and there's a right for us. There's a right way and a wrong way to ask that question. Tough questions are never turned down. It's just the way they're asked. So that's all I'll say. Marie, how many trips to Taco Bell did you make? Screw that. I made them come to me. I did have great Indian food in San Francisco. We found this great place just off the a couple miles away from the hotel that was just amazing homemade Indian food. It was beautiful. Oh, it was so good. I had butter chicken with garlic naan. It was perfect. YJ, I had a question tonight. Maybe you could tackle it instead here. If Sasquatch all use mind speak, what's the point of wood knocks? Do you think it's for people to hear? Yeah. I think it's signaling, maybe distance, or maybe they realize that most people aren't going to catch on to a wood knock. They'll think it's something else, and they can use that for, much like, military used to, maybe this is a fallacy. I've never served in the military, but back in the day, you'd always see them mocking or mimicking birds in order to give away a direction or something along those lines. Maybe it's the exact same way. I'm not sure. And Sovereign Farts, how you doing? Formulate your question in a flatulent way and everything will be okay. Fart hard. Just woke up and caught some of this blast ass quick fast. Beautiful. You are poetic. You're a poetic farter, my friend. Poetic farter. But getting back to your question there, YJ, it's a great question. It totally is a great question on why, what's the necessary point. I'll throw another one at you, YJ. As you know, I tend to believe that I think that Sasquatch is a shapeshifter or interdimensional. If so, what's the purpose of it eating? And yet we hear about them hunting hogs or deer or rabbits or birds or whatever it may be, right? I don't understand that. And that's kind of the beauty of what we do is we have all of these great questions that don't make sense that we're trying to piece together. And it's confusing. It totally is confusing. I'm sorry if I'm stalling on words here. My brain is blah right now. Let me catch up in the chat room here. Wood knocks. Mind speak is like a CBA radio. You can hear it, but you know where it's from. The wood knocks are to say this is where the thought came from. Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. The Sandvan from Australia. How's later today looking? Oh, Jason, you don't need to apologize, my man. Just hang out and enjoy the woo. That's all you hear me say, man. Just hang out and enjoy the woo. And it's one thought I didn't finish for you, my man, is this. If I didn't have my daytime job, like I'll be up in 7 hours for my daytime job once I go to bed here. And if I didn't have that daytime job, I would be literally, and I've told my team this, my job would be basically making phone calls all day, every day. That's it. Spend 3-4 hours a day, 5 hours a day on the phone talking. Excuse me. Ugh, that hit me. Talking about all of these subjects, mainly UFOs right now, or getting on the phone and rebuilding my paranormal contacts and whatever it may be. I don't have that time right now, so I do feel a little bit left behind on a lot of the news gathering regarding the subject. Um, so that's where I get a little frustrated with myself regarding it. Um, you know, and I hope one day if our show is picked up or our channel grows, our YouTube channel grows. When I say picked up, I'm saying I'd like to get in my dream, I'd like to get a minimum 20 radio stations. Okay, because with radio stations comes advertising. With advertising comes profit, and in the end, we are a business. And if that profit allows me the opportunity to um to make a living, I go down to one job a month or one job a day, pardon me. And instead of working 16 hours a day, I'm working maybe 8 hours a day. And then I have the ability to do a lot more investigative journalism, do a lot more storytelling from more factual stuff. But that being said, I also love the fact of people's stories, because in the end, none of us would really have anything to talk about if it wasn't for brave people coming out and sharing their stories and their experiences and their sightings. Yes, it's all anecdotal. And yes, there are a lot of people trying to cut their 5, 10, 15 minutes of fame in this subject. There really are. And it's a pain in the ass. But as years go by, they're getting easier to spot. We are on the live stream, we would continue doing what we're doing here. We are on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 radio stations, one kind of a pirate radio station. So that's 8. And we are looking for more. So that is where, like I said, the majority of our audience comes from. And that's where we're always building towards. Melissa Lemos, how are you? It's Melissa Lemos, everybody. Melissa Lemos is here. She has finally joined us from the depths of wherever she was. I don't know where she was. Oh, dude, if I could get coast to coast ad revenue, oh, buddy. Oh, I'd have a good time with that. I really would have a good time with that. Melissa Lemos from Portugal. We love you, Melissa Lemos from Portugal. I know you're blushing right now as I say that. Joey Zed. Skip to Malou. I do not know Bubba the Love Sponge. I mean, I know who he is, but I don't know him personally. You know what? Come back soon. Thanks for tuning us in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Do 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 do. All right. I think we are done for the night. Yeah, we are. Tomorrow night on the show, we are going to talk with Shane Michael Crisp from West Coast Dogman. You may have seen him in our chat room. But we're going to chat with him about his research into the cryptid creatures on the West Coast. They're a combination, Sherry. Combination. CS, how you doing? How do you donate to show? You can do it through PayPal at info@spacedoutradio.com, or you can hit the super chat here below. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, W. David Page, Deb, Louie, and Derek, for the amazing super chats tonight. Don't forget you can shop at our store, spacedoutradio.com as well. Good night, everybody. I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.